Chapter 1545. The competition continues. 3. Thank you for the reminder, but this time, I won't let Ning Shi have a chance to make a comeback. Ning Haolan said coldly. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. How could he let go of such a good opportunity? If she has Lung Ruox's help, Ning Shi will definitely not be able to escape. Cheng Xian said with a smirk. I understand. She probably won't let Ning Shi off either. Ning Haolan nodded. Then, the two of them smiled at each other with a tacit understanding. After Lung Ruoxue left Lan Garden, she did not return to her own residence. Instead, she went straight to Ning Shan's guest room. However, she saw an unexpected person in the guest room, Ning Yan. However, Ning Yan was not surprised to see Lung Ruoxue. The two of them nodded lightly. Then, Lung Ruoxue took out a black elixir and handed it to Ning Hai, who was by the bed. Ning Hai took the pill and stuffed it into Ning Shan's mouth without thinking. Then, his tiger-like eyes stared at Ning Shan on the bed. He did not ask what pill Ruoxue had given him because he believed that Ruoxue would not harm Ning Shan. Ning Shan's situation was also a little different from Ning Duan's. This was because Ning Shan had always been very quiet. Every day, other than eating and sleeping, he did not make any noise or drool. He also rarely spoke. However, from his clear eyes, one could see that something was not right, because Ning Shan was always very lost. You've refined the antidote to the soul-forgetting pill? Ning Yan came to Lung Ruoxue's side and asked softly. Yes. Lung Ruoxue nodded, then looked up at Ning Yan. Ning Yan was a famous tigress in the divine realm. She looked like she was in her early 30s. She was very beautiful and had a hot and sexy body. She was now a god-tier master. She had seen Ning Yan once on the divine mainland, but she did not get a good look at her. At that time, she had heard a lot about Ning Yan's reputation. Later, she heard that Ning Yan had caused her husband's death through domestic violence. She really knew nothing about this Ning Yan. However, a daughter who could get her godfather's love must have something extraordinary. As for Ning Yan's reputation, she didn't comment. After all, if she took it too seriously, she would be no different from a fool. Some things had to be seen with one's own eyes. Little sister is really amazing. I often hear father mention you. The number of times he talks about you in my ear makes me a little jealous. Ning Yan complimented him and said half-jokingly, Godfather's love is Ruoxue's good fortune. Lung Ruoxue said very politely. She was still not sure of Ning Yan's intentions, so she did not have any way to deal with it. She could only deal with it as it came. Younger sister is indeed likable. It is normal for father to like you. Ning Yan said with a smile. Lung Ruoxue did not know how to reply to her. Coincidentally, Ning Shan had woken up and helped Lung Ruoxue out of her predicament. Brother, big sister Ruoxue, what's wrong with me? Where was this place? I'm in the middle of a competition, right? Ning Shan looked at the unfamiliar environment he was in and was still a little lost. Shut up. You're injured, so we're still in the main residence. Ning Hai explained with a smile. What about the competition? Do I still have a chance? Ning Shan had no memory of what had happened after he was injured, so he was a little anxious. Don't worry. The competition has been suspended. Ning Yan said. Young miss. What are you doing here? Seeing Ning Yan, Ning Shan could not help but feel a little terrified. If little sister Ruoxue can be here, why can't I be here? Lung Yan said angrily. Ning Shan was in a difficult position. Could he say that he was close to sister Ruoxue but not to Ning Yan? Furthermore, Ning Yan was the eldest daughter of the Ning family. In his heart, she had always been a high and mighty figure. Although sister Ruoxue was also the goddaughter of the old ancestor, he still felt very close to her. Shut up. You've just recovered from your injury, so don't think too much. You still have a chance in the game. Lung Ruoxue could see Ning Shan's awkwardness and helped him to change the topic. I won't be careless anymore. Ning Shan said, a little embarrassed. Don't think about that. Your task now is to rest. Lung Ruoxue gave a half-command, then gave Ning Shan a few more instructions before she got up and left. Ning Yan left with her. Lung Ruoxue brought the grapes and lotus out of the courtyard and was about to part ways with Ning Yen, who knew that before she could speak, Ning Yen would say, "I'm going to see father, so I'll go with you." Hearing Ning Yan's words, Lung Ruoxue couldn't refuse and could only nod. However, she was a little depressed because she didn't understand what this eldest miss of the Ning family wanted to do. Why did she have to cling on to her? However, she could tell that Ning Yen had no ill intentions towards her, so she naturally didn't think of using her mind-reading ability to read Ning Yan's mind. The two of them walked side by side at the front. Ning Yen kept trying to find a topic to talk about while Lung Ruoxue answered her questions. If Ning Yen did not ask, Lung Ruoxue would not take the initiative to speak. Just like that, they slowly walked to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. When they arrived at Master Ning's courtyard, Lung Ruoxue had no intention of going in with Ning Yen. However, Ning Yen seemed to have read her mind and took the initiative to invite her. "Little sister Ruoxue, come with me to see father. If he knows that you've refined the antidote to the soul-forgetting pill, he'll definitely be very happy." "Yes." Lung Ruoxue nodded unwillingly. Then, Ning Yen held her arm and pulled her into Master Ning's courtyard. As soon as they reached the garden, they saw Master Ning and the first elder playing chess on the stone chairs in the garden. Ning Yen quickly called out, "Father, we're here to see you." Master Ning looked up when he heard Ning Yan's voice. However, when he saw Lung Ruoxue beside her, he immediately smiled. "Shui, you're finally out. How's the production of the antidote for the soul-forgetting pill?" "Father, don't you see my existence? Don't be so fickle in love with the new." Ning Yen saw that she was being ignored by her own father and she was angry and amused at the same time. Of course, she was also a little jealous. "I see it. How can I not see Yen Earl?" The master of the Ning family said awkwardly. In fact, his attention was all on Shui. Lung Ruoxue, who was listening to the conversation between the father and daughter, tried her best to reduce her presence. She did not want to be jealous of Ning Yen and treat herself as an imaginary enemy. After all, women's jealousy was unreasonable. However, Master Ning obviously did not plan to let her go. After dealing with Ning Yen, he looked at Lung Ruoxue expectantly. "Shui, you haven't answered me yet." "Godfather, I've already made the antidote for the soul-forgetting pill and fed it to Ning Shan." Lung Ruoxue replied helplessly. Chapter 1546, The Beautiful Dolphin Man That Was Caught, 1. "Really? Shui, you're not coaxing me, are you? It's only been a few days and you've already made it?" Master Ning said in disbelief, and the great elder's face was also full of disbelief. "Yes." Lung Ruoxue nodded and passed Master Ning a bottle of the soul-forgetting antidote that she had concocted herself. "Godfather, you can find someone to try it on. I'll go back and rest first." After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she turned around and left. When the master of the Ning family heard her words, he hurriedly called Ning Yen over and ordered him to go to the prison and bring out a prisoner who had taken the soul-forgetting pill. After trying it out, the master of the Ning family was overjoyed. The great elder had been developing the antidote for the soul-forgetting pill for a long time, but there had been no progress. Now that his goddaughter had made it, he was honored. After seeing the effects, he immediately went to look for Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue did not expect her godfather to come looking for her so quickly. She was helpless. "Shui, can you give me a portion of the soulless antidote's formula?" The master of the Ning family said, a little embarrassed. "Godfather, doesn't your Ning family often use this forget soul on members who make mistakes? What does it matter if we have the antidote or not?" Lung Ruoxue was confused. "That's true, but since we've refined the antidote to the soul-forgetting pill, our Ning family naturally has to keep a portion of it." Master Ning explained. "Oh." Lung Ruoxue finally understood. So, Godfather wanted to save it. Knowing her godfather's intentions, Lung Ruoxue took out the prescription of the soul-forgetting antidote and handed it to Master Ning. The master of the Ning family glanced at the formula in his hand and put it into his storage ring. Then he said, "Shui, since Ning Shan is fine, the clan competition will continue in 3 days. But we haven't found out about the poisoning yet. Lung Ruoxue reminded. It's okay. The competition can go on as usual. We'll continue to investigate the poisoning incident. There's no delay in either. The master of the Ning family said disapprovingly. Yes. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Although she did not know if Ning Haolan had mentioned Ning Duan's confession to her godfather, since Ning Shan's injuries had been cured and Ning Haolan was investigating the poisoning incident, she naturally did not need to worry. For the next 3 days, Lung Ruoxue didn't step out of the house at all. However, Ning Yen became her regular customer. Ning Yen would report to her every afternoon and chat with her about everything. She even said that she wanted to be her guide and take her around the Ning family's divine territory. Lung Ruoxue found it hard to reject him and could only stall for time. Ning Yen seemed to be very serious. She even said that she would take her to the Ning family's divine realm after the clan competition. 3 days later, the clan competition that had been paused for a period of time started again as scheduled. Because of the accident in Ning Shan's and Ning Duan's last match, the acting clan head and clan elders decided to redo their matches after a discussion, while the others' matches would be normal. When Grape and Lotus Seed learned of this news, they were very indignant because they felt that this was unfair to Ning Shan. And that Ning Duan, he had clearly done something wrong. It was fine if he was not punished by the family, but they actually wanted him to compete again. It was really preposterous. They felt aggrieved for Ning Shan and also regretted that they had not taught Ning Duan enough in the cave. Sitting in the audience seats of the third arena, Lung Ruoxue looked at the grapes and lotus seeds that were pouting. She could not help but laugh. What? Are you guys still angry? Miss. I don't know what's wrong with the young master of the Ning family. He clearly knew that Ning Duan was the one who poisoned him, but he still allowed him to participate in the competition. This is outrageous. Grape said angrily. It's just that there's not enough evidence. If we don't let him participate in the competition, the 19th elder won't let this matter rest. Actually, from her point of view, it was not important whether Ning Duan participated in this internal competition or not. After all, Ning Duan's strength was not even ranked in the Ning family. After Ning Shan's poison was cured, it was no longer within her concern when Ning Duan and Ning Shi would be punished by the family. Moreover, they had already punished Ning Duan. As for Ning Shi, it was only a matter of time. The 19th elder is really unreasonable. You're like a fly. Lianzi Xen said, feeling touched. In the past few days when she had been living in the Ning family, she had heard the name of the 19th elder a lot. Moreover, when the young lady had been brought into the main residence for questioning, the 19th elder seemed to have caused trouble for her. Miss, I heard that Ning Shi is young Master Ning's sister. Do you think he? Grape said worriedly. Although she did not finish her sentence, Lung Ruoxue immediately understood what she meant. Seeing Grape and Lotus Seed speaking one after another, Lung Ruoxue was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. Who did you hear this from? A guard of the Ning family told me. Miss, the young master of the Ning family actually hid this from us. What do you think he wants to do? Grape's face was full of doubt. Grape, don't doubt the person you use, and don't use the person you doubt. Ning Haolan didn't tell us about this probably because he didn't think it was necessary. In other words, Ning Shi is nothing in his eyes, so let's not make wild guesses. Besides, if he really dares to protect Ning Shi I won't let him off either. Lung Ruoxue gave it some thought and smiled. Then let's see how he performs. Grape nodded seriously. Her serious expression made Lung Ruoxue laugh. Ha, Grapes. You're getting more and more adorable. Lung Ruoxue stretched out her snow-white hand and touched her beautiful face as she teased. Miss, you're teasing me. Grape's face was flushed red as he said angrily. Hee hee. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. At this moment, the competition that had been paused for a while had officially started. Just as Lung Ruoxue had expected, this time, Ning Shan won without any suspense and entered the next round of the competition very smoothly. When the Ning family saw that Ning Shan was unscathed, they were also deeply surprised. This was because they had all known that Ning Shan had been affected by the soul-forgetting spell. However, looking at how energetic he was now, they knew that he was fine. Only a small number of people in the Ning family knew that Lung Ruoxue had refined the soul-forgetting antidote. Hence, when they saw Ning Shan, they could not help but whisper to each other. However, no matter how they reacted, they were not within Lung Ruoxue's scope of observation. As time passed, the preliminary round ended very quickly. After the preliminaries ended, a total of 500 clansmen of the Ning family entered the next stage of the competition. From the middle to the end of the competition, all the competitions would be held in the main arena. The strength of the participants in the preliminaries was quite different, so there was not much suspense. However, from the middle of the competition, there would be a real competition. Moreover, all the teams would not be divided according to age, but by drawing lots. Chapter 1547. The Beautiful Dolphin Man Caught. 2. After a 3-day break, the mid-stage of the competition officially began in the main arena. Lung Ruoxue sat on the VIP seats on the main stage, her beautiful eyes looking around. There were more people from the Ning family coming to watch the competition today than before. The entire competition ground was almost full of people. Moreover, the people who were participating in the competition were in high spirits, and it seemed like they were determined to win. Before the competition, she had specially gone to see Brother Ning and Ning Shan. Although Brother Ning had kept his emotions in check, she could see that Brother Ning was also holding back a breath in his heart. In addition to Ning Shan's accident, this competition was very important to Brother Ning. As for Ning Shan, he was still young, so his emotions could be seen on his face. However, he was quite confident. Seeing him like this, Lung Ruoxue was also relieved. Miss Lung is really amazing. You can actually make the antidote for the soul-forgetting pill. Our Ning family's great elder has been researching for so long and still couldn't make it, but you've made it in just a few days. At this moment, an enigmatic voice rang in Lung Ruoxue's ears. When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she lifted her beautiful eyes and looked at the owner of the voice. Isn't this the 19th elder? Long time no see. Lung Ruoxue greeted with a smile. As for what Elder 19 had said, she completely ignored it. Young Miss Lung is really amazing. Something that even our Grand Elder couldn't refine, you actually refined it in just a few days. 19th Elder could not help but ask when he saw Lung Ruoxue avoiding the important points and avoiding the trivial ones. I was just lucky. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently, ignoring the implied meaning behind 19th Elder's words. Our great elder doesn't have your luck, AI. It's really infuriating to compare. The 19th elder sighed, his face full of regret. 19th elder, are you feeling indignant for the great elder? Hearing his words, the head elder of the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters lifted his eyelids and said with a faint smile. I didn't expect the 19th elder to have such a good relationship with your Ning family's first elder. However, your family's first elder isn't here, so isn't your flattery a little redundant? Lung Ruoxue also laughed with a hint of mockery. You, 19th elder, was so angry that he couldn't speak. He had wanted to sow discord between Lung Ruoxue and the Grand Elder. Furthermore, he had initially thought that after he had said those words, many elders would agree with him. Who knew that no one would pay any attention to his words? Not only that, the person from the Armament Guild headquarters was even on the same side as Lung Ruoxue. He was really infuriated. What? AI. Why is there always such a person in this world? It's fine if he's not liked, but he always wants to jump out and isolate others. What if he meets someone with a bad temper one day and gets killed? Lung Ruoxue mumbled to herself. Miss, this kind of person deserves to be killed. Grape, who was standing at the side, quickly said, Young Miss Lung, your maidservant really doesn't know the rules. We are talking here, how can a maidservant have the right to interrupt? Lung Ruoxue and Grape's cooperation had infuriated 19th Elder. However, old Grand Madam was still here, so even if he was dissatisfied with Lung Ruoxue, he did not dare to criticize her. He could only vent his anger on Grape. However, Grape listened to his words and only glanced at him disdainfully and did not look at him again. This made him extremely angry. Freedom of speech. Besides, I'm a very democratic master. Although Grape is just a maidservant, she has the right to speak. Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Her words made Grape even more proud. She looked at the 19th elder provocatively, not even bothering to hide the disdain in her eyes. A servant is a servant. How can young Lady Lung not distinguish between master and servant? The 19th elder suppressed the anger in his heart and said disapprovingly. Then, Elder 19, please teach me. What is the difference between master and servant? Is it only by beating and scolding your subordinates all day long that you can show your dignity as a master? Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. At least as a servant, you have to have the rules of a servant. Someone like her, who casually interjects when the master is talking, is absolutely not allowed. 19th elder thought for a moment and pointed at the grapes. 19th elder. She's my maidservant, so I'm the one who decides whether she's good or not. If others can't stand it, then it's like a dog taking a mouse to meddle in other people's business. Are you very free? Lung Ruoxue pointed at the mulberry and scolded the locust. How can I be free? I'm very busy. 19th elder gritted his teeth as he cursed in his heart. That damned Lung Ruoxue, she actually called him a dog. However, if he knew that in Lung Ruoxue's heart he was not even comparable to a dog, he would probably be even angrier. Then you should go back to your work. Don't waste your time here. Lung Ruoxue urged. Her words made Grape burst out in laughter, while 19th elder's old face flushed red. The clan competition is of utmost importance to the Ning clan. How can I leave at will? 19th elder's forehead broke out in cold sweat as he tried to find an excuse for himself. However, the Ning family master's next words made him sink even deeper into darkness. It's fine. If 19th elder has more important matters to deal with, I'll allow you to leave. I'm sorry, the master of the Ning family said indifferently. Although his words touched Lung Ruoxue's heart, 19th elder felt very upset when he heard it. Old grandmadam is helping an outsider to bully me, but I dare not say anything. Of course, I don't plan to leave just like that. Otherwise I'll lose all my face. 19th elder. I've already agreed for you to leave and attend to your own important matters, so why are you still sitting here? Lung Ruoxue reminded him kindly when she saw that 19th elder had not moved for a long time. Nothing is more important than the clan competition. The 19th elder forced a smile and looked at the other elders with grievance. Unfortunately, no one was willing to speak up for him. In fact, the other elders all felt that the 19th elder had brought this upon himself. The ancestor was still here. Why would he find trouble with Lung Ruoxue? Wasn't that a case of having nothing better to do? Then you can stay here obediently. The master of the Ning family glanced at the 19th elder and said. He really didn't like the 19th elder no matter how he looked at him now. How could the Ning family have such a junior? He had no eyesight at all. Yes. The 19th elder replied in a low voice. The old ancestor had spoken, so how could he dare to disobey? Initially, he wanted to make Lung Ruoxue feel uncomfortable. Who knew that not only did he not get any advantage, he was even despised by the old grandmadam. He was so depressed. As for the other elders who had the same thoughts as him, they naturally did not dare to speak up when they saw that 19th elder did not manage to gain any benefits from Lung Ruoxue. Without the annoying flies, Lung Ruoxue's ears quieted down and she could finally focus on the competition. Chapter 1548. The Dolphin Beauty Who Was Caught, 3. At this moment, there were a total of 5 fighting rings in the main arena, and each ring was filled with pairs of people fighting each other. The level of the competition was obviously much higher than the preliminaries. However, Lung Ruoxue didn't know many people in the Ning family, so their competition didn't attract much interest from her. The middle stage of the competition was divided into 5 days, with 100 participants each day. The competition of Ning Shan and Ning Hai was on the 3rd and last day, respectively. Therefore, other than these 2 days, Lung Ruoxue was basically just a bystander. In fact, if it wasn't for her godfather, she would have gone back to her room to sleep. As if knowing that she was not in a good mood, Ning Yen came to her not long after the competition started. Little sister Ruoxue, let's go outside for a walk. Ning Yen suggested softly in Lung Ruoxue's ear. Lung Ruoxue looked at Ning Yen and thought to herself, this lady of the Ning family is really willful and reckless. At first, she was too embarrassed to leave, but since Miss Ning didn't care, why should she care? Glancing at the master of the Ning family, she nodded slightly. Then, Ning Yen led her out of the Ning family's main residence. Where do you want to take me? Walking on the main city streets, Lung Ruoxue was rather curious. I'll take you to catch some fish. Ning Yen said with a smile, her face full of pride. Ah. Lung Ruoxue wiped the cold sweat from her forehead, speechless. Ning Yen had brought her out of the Ning family just to catch fish? Why did this matter sound so unreliable? Even Grape and Lotus Seed, who were standing beside her, had a look of disbelief on their faces. This isn't an ordinary fish, but it's not easy to catch either. Ning Yan's beautiful face was full of yearning. In fact, she was a little annoyed by Ning Shi-er's constant nagging of Lung Ruoxue, so she had pulled Lung Ruoxue out. Where is this fish? Lung Ruoxue's curiosity was piqued. However, seeing that they were about to leave the city, she really had no idea where Ning Yen was taking her. There's a cold pond not far from the Ning family's main city. The fish are in there. Ning Yen said with a smile. The not far she was referring to was the distance from the Ning family's main city to there. It would take about half an hour to fly there. For the people of the divine realm, this was indeed not a long distance. Once they were out of the Ning family's main city, Ning Yen summoned her flying beast and gestured for Lung Ruoxue and the others to get on. Her flying beast was a beautiful white crane with no stray hair. It was a 7th-level sacred beast and looked a little arrogant. It even ignored Ning Yen, its master. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she could not help but tease. This beastie of yours seems to be a little narcissistic. It's not satisfied with me as its master. Ning Yen said helplessly. As a master who was despised by beastie, she felt very aggrieved. When they sat on the back of the red-crowned crane, as if to verify Ning Yan's words, it flew into the sky in a slightly rude manner. It even swayed a few times from time to time. However, the mischievous glint in its eyes did not escape Lung Ruoxue's eyes. This bird's feathers are not bad. They're quite soft and should be enough to make a blanket. Lung Ruoxue's soft and boneless little hand gently stroked the red-crowned crane's fur. Ah! Ning Yen heard Lung Ruoxue's words, and black lines appeared on her forehead. What did Lung Ruoxue mean? Could it be that he wanted to use He-er's feathers as a blanket? This can't do. How could she bear to? That red-crowned crane was called He. Lung Ruoxue's words were very loud, so it naturally heard them. However, it did not take it to heart because it was very clear that its master would not allow that weak woman to treat it this way. Upon hearing Lung Ruoxue's thoughts, Grape and Lotus Seed, the two maidservants, immediately agreed. Miss idea is great. The blanket made from the feathers of this red-crowned crane will definitely be warm and soft. Didn't Sister Yen want to give me a present? I don't want anything else, just give me some feathers from this bird. As Lung Ruoxue spoke, she reached out to the thickest feathers on Crane's back. The feathers there were dense and soft, and felt extremely good to the touch. Little Sister Ruoxue. This, Ning Yen was put in a difficult position. She did say that she wanted to give Lung Ruoxue a gift, but she had no intention of giving Crane's feathers. One should know that Crane's most precious thing was its snow-white and beautiful feathers. If she gave away Crane's feathers, he would hate her to death. However, Lung Ruoxue seemed to be very serious. So, for a moment she did not know what to say. Sister Yen. It settled then. Lung Ruoxue did not allow her to reject her and smiled. Following that, she turned to Grape and Lianzi and said, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and help me pluck my fur." With that, she grabbed a bunch of Crane's thick feathers and pulled them out by the roots. In an instant, an earth-shattering shriek filled the air. Ah! Crane, whose feathers had been plucked, was trembling in pain. While it was still in the air, its huge body began to shake uncontrollably. Lung Ruoxue and the others could only hold on to its feathers tightly and pull them out as they did so, which made Ning Yan's heart ache. Crane's heart was filled with anger. It endured the pain in its body and descended. The moment it landed, it wanted to throw Lung Ruoxue and the others off its body. However, Lung Ruoxue and the others were already prepared and would not give it the chance. Instead, they seized the time and continued plucking its feathers. Seeing this, Ning Yan quickly pleaded for little Sister Ruoxue, don't pull it out. It hurts. Sister Yan, don't worry. When I've pulled enough, I naturally won't pull anymore. Lung Ruoxue chuckled and gave Ning Yan a look, telling her to stay out of it. Ning Yan could tell that Lung Ruoxue was taking revenge for her. Even though her heart felt warm, the thought of he going to suffer still made her heart ache. However, she also wanted to see how Lung Ruoxue would discipline so she could only walk to the other side and stay there. Otherwise, she would definitely stop her. Seeing that Ning Yan had left, Lung Ruoxue and the other two picked up Crane's feathers even more unscrupulously. Although Crane wanted to resist, it could not shake off the three women on its back. This made it extremely angry. Crane could be seen flying up and down in the air, trying to get Lung Ruoxue and the other two off its back. With them around, it couldn't transform even if it wanted to. Furthermore, its back hurt so much that it was on the verge of tears. What was even more infuriating was that after Lung Ruoxue had pulled out enough feathers from its back, she had her eyes on the feathers on its neck. The feathers there were softer, but it was also more painful to pull them out. Having its feathers pulled out, he felt like dying. At the same time, he felt even more depressed. He was a dignified 7th-level sacred beast. Why couldn't he do anything to three humans who were weaker than him? It could not understand. Chapter 1549. The Beautiful Dolphin Man Caught. 4. The feathers on Lung Ruoxue, grape, and lotus seeds' hands flew up and down, floating in the air. Their movements were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, a piece of feather on Hier's body had been cut off. However, the three of them had no intention of stopping, because Hier was not begging for mercy. After an unknown period of time, the exhausted crane finally broke down. It cried and begged, "Don't pluck my fur anymore. I was wrong. It was truly afraid." A dignified 7th-ranked Saint Divine Beast was actually unable to do anything to three weak humans. If this were to spread out, no one would believe it. However, no matter how hard it tried, it still couldn't shake them off. So, it could only give in. Wrong? Where did you go wrong? Lung Ruoxue lifted her beautiful eyes and smiled faintly. However, her hands did not stop moving. In fact, wherever she went, the feathers on Crane's body would leave. "I shouldn't have looked down on you," Crane said softly. Tears were welling up in its black eyes, but it did not dare to cry. Its aggrieved look made one's heart ache. Unfortunately, other than its master, Lung Ruoxue, and the other two did not care at all. Furthermore, its master was not in front of it. "There's still more." Lung Ruoxue continued to ask. Her actions of plucking the feathers were as smooth as flowing water. "I shouldn't have given Master such a bad attitude. I won't dare to do it again." Crane wasn't stupid. It was very clear why Lung Ruoxue would treat it like this. The reason why it didn't treat its master seriously, other than because of its master's low strength, was also because of its master's pampering. Unfortunately, even its master wasn't helping it anymore. Therefore, it could only lower its head to this demon. After all, this demon wouldn't care about it. "It seems that you understand. As a beastie, you actually dare to show your master attitude. You really don't take your job well. Only Sister Yen indulges you. If it were me, I would have beaten you up long ago." Lung Ruoxue reprimanded. Hearing what she said, although he didn't say a word, he couldn't help but think in his heart, other than plucking hair, "Do you know anything else? Do you think you can beat it into submission with your strength?" It had lived for so long, but it had never heard of a puny middle-stage divine being able to beat a 7th-grade sacred beast into submission. However, it definitely did not dare to say this out loud. Furthermore, it had to put on an expression of humility as it was afraid that Lung Ruoxue would continue to pluck its feathers. It had embarrassed the sacred beasts and the Crane clan. It no longer had the face to meet its own kind. It was remorseful in its heart. You better behave yourself in the future. Otherwise, I'll pull you out every time I see you. I'll pull out all the hair on your body and see if you still dare to be smug. Seeing that Crane remained silent, Lung Ruoxue continued to warn him. I really don't dare to do it again. Said hurriedly, tears streaming down her face. Right now, in her eyes, Lung Ruoxue was the incarnation of a demon. How could she dare to provoke her? Then I'll give you a chance. I'll let you go this time. Lung Ruoxue was a magnanimous person, and Crane, who had its feathers plucked, was still grateful to her. Thank you for your generosity. Said like a little wife. Miss, I'm afraid these feathers aren't enough to make a blanket. Why don't we pluck some more? Seeing that Crane had given in, Grape still suggested with an evil smile. Her words scared Crane so much that its little heart was trembling, and it couldn't help but curse in its heart. Bad person. Bad guy. These women were really too evil. So, Master, quickly come and save me from the devil's claws. It's okay. I'll pull it out again next time. Lung Ruoxue looked at Crane, who was trembling all over, and very kindly did not agree. One should always stop while they were ahead. Then, she called Ning Yen back and prepared to continue their journey. When Ning Yen returned, she saw Crane's uneven feathers of different lengths and felt a deep sense of sympathy. When Crane saw her, it was extremely affectionate and threw its head into her arms with tears in its eyes. Ning Yen was stunned for a moment before she came back to her senses. She smiled and patted Crane's head to comfort it. However, she could not help but think that Sister Ruoxue was so capable, or had never been so close to her. After consoling them for a while, they continued on their journey. This time, Crane was clearly much more obedient. Not long after, they finally arrived at their destination. Lung Ruoxue jumped off Crane's back and looked at the cold pond that Ning Yen had mentioned. The area of this cold pool was not very large, only about 10 square meters in size. The water was very deep. Although she could see white fish swimming around, the pool was so deep that she could not see the bottom. Not only that, this cold pool was also unusually cold. She could feel the cold air from some distance away from the cold pool. The surrounding scenery was like a painting, and the climate was warm and pleasant. However, there was a cold pool that did not match the surrounding scenery. This was really too strange. Even though Lung Ruoxue had her doubts, she did not think too much about it. This was because it seemed like this cold pond had been here for a long time. Little Sister Ruoxue, I'm telling you, the fish here are very delicious, and I drool just thinking about it. However, those fish are too cunning, so they are very difficult to catch. Ning Yen was very excited at first, but the thought of not being able to eat delicious food made her depressed again. Sister Yen, this cold pond should be quite old, right? Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. Even though this cold pond is not big, it is still quite famous in the divine realm. Especially the fish here, I guarantee that you will want to eat more after you have tried it. Ning Yen said, drooling. Then how can I catch the fish here? Lung Ruoxue walked to the side of the pond and looked at the fish swimming happily. The temperature of the water was too low, so it was unrealistic to go into the pool to catch fish. I've already made preparations. Ning Yen took out 4 fishing rods from her storage bangle and handed them to Lung Ruoxue, Grape, and Lotus Seed. Lung Ruoxue looked at the fishing rod in her hand and was speechless. So Ning Yen had brought her here to fish. But what did the fish here eat? As she was thinking, she saw Ning Yen walk to the side of the pool and pull up a few luxuriant waterweeds. The waterweeds were silver in color and there seemed to be ice beads hanging on them. The leaves were semicircular and very thick, but the temperature of the waterweeds was very low. This is bait. Lung Ruoxue asked Ning Yen as she held the grass in her hand. Only by using this kind of watergrass can you have a chance to catch the fish in the cold pond. However, it also depends on luck, because the fish here are very cunning. Ning Yen explained. Then she hung a leaf on the hook and threw the line into the cold pool. She took out a small stool and sat by the pool. Looking at Ning Yan's actions, Lung Ruoxue did not know what to say. It turned out that the fish here were vegetarian. However, even though she thought about it, she still put the grass on the hook and started to fish by the pond. Chapter 1550. The Beautiful Dolphin Man That Was Caught, 5. Not long after she placed the hook into the water, Lung Ruakshu's fishing rod reacted. With a gentle pull, a white fish the size of a palm was pulled ashore. Little sister Ruashua, your luck is too good. Ning Yan's face was full of envy, jealousy, and hatred. She was the one who hit the fishing rod first, but her fishing rod didn't move at all. This was too much of a bully. Following that, Lung Ruakshu's fishing rod caught more fish one after another. Even grapes and lotus seed caught 2 fish each. However, Ning Yan's fishing rod did not react at all. This made her even more depressed. You guys are such bullies. Ning Yan couldn't help but complain. We were just lucky. However, the fish we caught weren't big. The big fish here were all saved for Sister Yen. Lung Ruashue smiled as she consoled him. At least you know how to talk. Hearing Lung Ruakshu's words, Ning Yan's heart burst with joy and she continued to focus on fishing. She had to catch a big fish. However, Ning Yan's fishing rod didn't move until the grapes and lotus seeds were done roasting the fish. Ning Yan felt indignant as she ate the grilled fish in her hand. Her resentful eyes would drift towards Lung Ruashue from time to time. So, why was she so unlucky? Seeing Ning Yan's childish behavior, Lung Ruashue could not help but laugh. She then handed her a fresh and juicy fish. The fish in the cold pond tasted really good. It was comparable to the one in her bracelet. Ning Yan took the fish and gnawed on it with gritted teeth, as if she wanted to vent all her anger on the grilled fish. Suddenly, she saw the fishing rod she had placed on the shore move and quickly ran over to pull it back from the pool. Arg! Little sister Ruashue. It's a big fish, come and help me. Ning Yan held the fishing rod tightly, but the fish she had caught was not small. It was struggling hard in the water, trying to keep a distance from her. The water in the pool splashed and the water kept rising. They're here. Seeing this, Lung Ruashue, Grape, and Lotus quickly ran to Ning Yan's side to help her hold on to the fishing rod. This time, the fish that Ning Yan had caught was indeed not small, and the 4 of them almost could not hold it. They were in a deadlock with the big fish underwater. Lung Ruashue saw that she didn't know how long it would take for them to reach the end, so she moved the Dark Tiger King and his wife out of the house. The moment the Dark Tiger King came out, it smiled at Lung Ruashue and said, "Little girl, did you miss us? You're finally willing to let us out for some fresh air. Don't talk nonsense, hurry up and help." Lung Ruashue said in an unpleasant tone when she saw the Tiger King acting all smug the moment he appeared. "Alright, watch me." The Shadow Tiger King's huge body stood beside Lung Ruashue. Its huge claws grabbed onto the fishing rod. With a light lift and a pull, it easily pulled the big fish out of the water. Everyone was dumbfounded. Was this a fish? Lung Ruashue was speechless as she looked at the huge creature that was being dragged onto the shore. It was obviously a dolphin. This dolphin was almost 2 meters long and its body was like a small mountain. Its entire body was light blue and its skin was glowing with a faint light. Its pair of watery black eyes were glaring at them with extreme anger. Lung Ruashue couldn't understand why there would be dolphins in the cold pond. Dolphins were obviously creatures of the sea. This was too unbelievable. Moreover, it seemed that this dolphin's strength wasn't low. It had reached the strength of an 8th-ranked sacred beast. It should be comparable to the Dark Tiger King. However, when the beastie in the water came to land, it would only be looking for abuse. Hence, even if this dolphin's strength was not low, Lung Ruashue did not think highly of it. Moreover, she did not know what had happened to this dolphin, but its body was actually entangled by the fishing line. No wonder it was caught. Lung Ruashue pitied the dolphin when she saw its sorry state. "I want to catch fish." Ning Yan mumbled softly, as if she despised the dolphin. In fact, she was not to be blamed. After all, humans lived on land, so only the beasts on land were most suitable for them. As for the beasts in the water, they were useless in the eyes of humans, and few people would contract with the beasts in the water. Hearing Ning Yan's words, the dolphin was so angry that it kept blowing bubbles from its nostrils. However, because of the Dark Tiger King couple's presence, it was still a little afraid. However, it did not want to be outdone and roared at Ning Yen, "Then why did you fish me up? I'm not a fish." The dolphin was furious, but it did not dare to offend Lung Ruoxue and the others. It was all alone now. If it was in the water, it wouldn't need to be afraid of these humans. "I said I wanted to fish. What are you shouting for?" Hearing the dolphin roar at her, Ning Yan's temper flared up. "All of you shut up. You're not allowed to argue." Lung Ruoxue felt a headache coming on when she saw that the human and the dolphin were about to fight. Her words were quite effective. After Ning Yen and the dolphin glared at each other, they really stopped. However, Ning Yen was giving Lung Ruoxue face, while the dolphin was giving face to the Tiger King couple beside Lung Ruoxue. "How did you appear in the cold pond?" Lung Ruoxue turned her gaze towards the dolphin and asked. Even if you beat her to death, she would never believe that there would be a dolphin living in the cold pond. Hence, she had to clarify things first. "I come from the endless sea. There is an eye of the sea that leads to here, so I naturally ran here. Who knew that I would be so unlucky to be caught by you guys?" The dolphin was rather depressed. After it finished speaking, it lowered its head and did not say anything else. "From the endless sea? Why didn't you stay in the sea? What are you doing in this cold pond?" Ning Yen was a little angry. This stinky dolphin, not only did it delay her fishing, but it also wronged her first. How preposterous! Moreover, the endless ocean was quite far from the Ning family's divine territory. This dolphin wouldn't be able to reach here even if it took a stroll. "You think I wanted to come? I was forced to do so." The dolphin was so aggrieved that it was about to cry, and its big eyes became even more watery. "Could it be that you can't stay in the endless ocean any longer, so you want to change places?" Lung Ruoxue made a guess when she heard the dolphin's words. Although she did not know where the endless sea was, since it was a sea, it should be quite big. Even if it was to fight for territory, it shouldn't have forced an 8th-ranked sacred beast into the cold pond, right? No, someone wanted to capture me as a contracted beast. I was unwilling, so of course I could only run. Dolphin said honestly. Who would be so blind as to find a dolphin as their contracted beast? You guys aren't of much use on land. Ning Yen said with a look of disdain. Don't look down on me. Although I can't fully display my strength on land, I don't have many opponents in the sea. Dolphin was a little unconvinced. Chapter 1551. The Smiling Celestial Emperor. 1. You're a human? Ning Yen sized up the dolphin in front of her curiously, her eyes full of question marks and surprise. Dolphin was so angry at Ning Yen that she was speechless. She turned her head and looked at Lung Ruoxue. Girl, as long as you're willing to help me, I'll definitely repay you. The dolphin's words caused Lung Ruoxue to feel a little flustered. Even though this was not the first time a beastie had called her girl, she still found it hard to get used to hearing such words from a dolphin. How do you want me to help you? Looking at the dolphin's face that was filled with anticipation, Lung Ruoxue decided to ignore the word girl that it said. She had always been enthusiastic about helping animals. Moreover, dolphins were one of her favorite animals. Now that this talking dolphin was begging her, as long as it was within her ability, she would not refuse. Help me get rid of the fishing line first, he said. Dolphin requested. Yes. Lung Ruoxue nodded and walked forward to untie the fishing line around the dolphin. After the dolphin regained its freedom, it immediately transformed into a human. Instantly, an extremely beautiful man appeared in front of everyone. This beautiful man was tall and had long, light blue hair that reached his waist. His pair of bright, starry eyes flickered with an alluring light. When he looked at Lung Ruoxue, there was a faint electric current flashing through his eyes. His pink lips opened slightly, and a soul contract was uttered from his mouth. As the contract's rules descended, it enveloped him and Lung Ruoxue within it. Upon seeing this scene, everyone present was dumbfounded. None of them had expected that the dolphin would sign a soul contract of its own accord without even asking for Lung Ruoxue's opinion. After the rules of the contract disappeared, Lung Ruoxue received looks of sympathy from Ning Yen, Grape, and Lotus. She did not know whether to laugh or cry. When she turned to look at the culprit, she saw that the culprit was looking at her with a shy expression. Cold sweat immediately broke out on her forehead. Although she was already used to the fact that there were always beasts who would automatically form contracts without her permission, this did not mean that she would not be angry. You. Just as Lung Ruoxue said one word, she was interrupted by the handsome man in front of her. You said you would help me, so you can't go back on your word. The Dolphin Man reminded her with a smirk. Lung Ruoxue glared at the handsome man in front of her in frustration. She took a deep breath and said in an unpleasant tone, "But I didn't ask you to recognize me as your master. How can you help me if you don't recognize me as your master?" The beautiful Dolphin Man smiled and asked in return. Then, he said to Lung Ruoxue earnestly, "Didn't I say before that someone wanted to capture me as a contracted beast? I'm afraid it'll be taken away, so I might as well find myself a master first. I like you, so this kind of good thing has fallen into your hands. Others don't have the chance to want me." When he said this, he glanced at Ning Yen as if to say, "I'm talking about her." As expected, Ning Yen had a strong reaction to the Dolphin Man's words. She widened her eyes and glared at the man in front of her. "You want to recognize me as your master, but I'm not willing. Unless I'm an idiot, I wouldn't accept a useless beastie. I'm useless? My strength is equivalent to a human god king." The Dolphin Beauty was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head as he roared. "So what? Can you defeat a god king on the ground? Do you really think that humans would be stupid enough to fight you in the sea?" Ning Yan's face was full of contempt. "You'll regret it if you look down on me," the beautiful Dolphin Man said indifferently. Then, he looked at Lung Ruoxue with a face full of resentment, as if he had suffered a great grievance. When Lung Ruoxue saw the beautiful Dolphin Man's expression, she was speechless. Not only that, but the dolphin's words had also driven her mad. It turned out that he was afraid of being captured, so he recognized her as his master in a moment of desperation. This had hurt her pride a little. "Master, although I haven't seen many humans, you're the one I have the best impression of." Sensing Lung Ruoxue's thoughts, the dolphin-like handsome man blinked his big, black eyes that were as bright as diamonds. He walked to Lung Ruoxue's side and tried to please her. Even though the beautiful Dolphin Man had said so, Lung Ruoxue still felt a little upset, so she remained silent. "Master, I really like you." Upon seeing this, the Dolphin Beauty could only continue to work hard to please Lung Ruoxue. "What do you like about me?" Finally, Lung Ruoxue was willing to pay attention to him. She made the beautiful dolphin-like man so beautiful that his tail was about to rise to the sky. "I don't need a reason to like someone. Otherwise, why would I choose you to be my master with so many people here?" Dolphin replied matter-of-factly, but his words were met with contempt from Ning Yen, Grape, and Lotus Seed. "Moreover, you won't suffer a loss if you take me in as a beastie. There are many rare treasures in my hometown. It's almost impossible for you humans to get them easily, but for me, it's as easy as flipping my hand." The dolphin-like man continued to coax her while blinking his bright eyes. He would occasionally throw a charming glance at Lung Ruoxue. "It sounds like there are many benefits to accepting you as a beastie," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. "That's a must." Dolphin was very proud. "But I'm still a little angry. What should I do?" Lung Ruoxue said with a conflicted expression. "Master, why don't you hit me?" After the beautiful dolphin finished speaking, he took out a long whip out of nowhere and handed it to Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue looked at the whip and could not help but frown. Putting aside where the dolphin's whip came from, the fact that he had taken out the whip for her to hit him was strange no matter how she thought about it. She did not want to let her thoughts run wild, but she could not control her thoughts. This beautiful man transformed from a dolphin had red lips and white teeth. His skin was delicate and smooth, and he looked fragile. He really had the potential to be a little beast. "Master, I'm already your little beastie." The beautiful Dolphin Man who was connected to Lung Ruoxue's heart laughed evilly. After he finished speaking, he even stuffed the whip into Lung Ruox's hands. Then he found a huge green rock and lay down. His meaning was clear. Master, come and whip me. I won't resist. The dolphin-like handsome man's face was filled with shyness, as if there was a trace of anticipation. Seeing his actions, the black lines on Lung Ruox's forehead deepened. Ning Yen, Grape, and Lotus Seed also stared with their mouths wide open, not knowing what to say. It was obvious that the dolphin's actions were beyond their expectations. However, the Dark Tiger King and his wife were very calm, as if they were used to it. Master, don't make me wait too long. The beautiful dolphin man's words were already enough to make one's imagination run wild. In addition, he kept throwing charming eyes at Lung Ruoxue. For a moment, Ning Yen and the others all looked at Lung Ruoxue with very ambiguous gazes. Chapter 1552, The Smiling Celestial Emperor, 2. Hurry up and stand up. It's broad daylight and you're already like this. What's wrong with you? Cold sweat trickled down Lung Ruox's forehead, causing her to be incoherent. Master is right. It's not good to be like this in broad daylight. Then you can hit me at night when there's no one around. The dolphin-like man gave Lung Ruoxue an I understand look, causing Lung Ruoxue to almost go crazy. So, that was not what she meant, okay? Lung Ruoxue was so depressed that she almost vomited blood. That damn dolphin, how dare it misinterpret her words? However, she could only deal with this dolphin's ambiguous words coldly and ignore it. Otherwise, Ning Yen and the others would definitely think that she was angry out of embarrassment and wanted to kill it to silence it. She couldn't let them think that way, so she could only pretend that nothing had happened. Master, let's leave this place first, okay? Seeing that Lung Ruoxue was silent for a long time, the beautiful dolphin man took the initiative to speak again. Actually, he was afraid that the person would chase after them. That person's strength was above them, and if he really caught up, it would be quite troublesome for them. However, he did not dare to make things too clear, because he was afraid that Lung Ruoxue and the others would be afraid. What's the hurry? We just came out. Before Lung Ruoxue could say anything, the Dark Tiger King spoke first with a hint of dissatisfaction. It had already smelled the fragrance of the fish. It was obviously impossible for it to leave without eating a single one. After hearing the Dark Tiger King's words, the dolphin man was so angry that he wanted to open its head to see what it was made of. How could it be so stupid? He hoped that his master would understand his hint. Little girl, I also want to eat fish. The Dark Tiger King ignored the beautiful dolphin man's flirtatious gaze and spoke to Lung Ruoxue. I'll roast it for you when we get back. Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. She could hear the dolphin's words and understood its concerns. After all, a person who could chase a dolphin with the strength of a god king to the point that it had no choice but to flee from its hometown must be an unparalleled expert. She could not afford to offend such a person now. Right. I'll roast it when I get back. The dolphin nodded. Following that, Lung Ruoxue and the rest packed their things and prepared to leave. All of a sudden, the water in the frosty lake churned and a powerful pressure enveloped them. Lung Ruoxue and the rest instantly found it difficult to breathe, and in the blink of an eye, their faces turned pale. Upon seeing this, Lung Ruoxue and the rest knew that they had encountered an expert. Furthermore, this expert might be the one who wanted to contract the dolphin. Almost instantly, a young man's figure appeared in the middle of the waves. This man was dressed in white and had a handsome face. When his shrewd eyes saw Lung Ruoxue and the others, they flickered for a moment before returning to normal. Immediately after, he retracted his aura and looked at Lung Ruoxue and the rest with an apologetic expression. He said, I'm sorry for being impolite. May I ask who you are? Ning Yen asked first, trying to calm herself down. Xiaobing, may I know who you are? Xiaobing introduced himself, then politely asked for Lung Ruoxue and the others' names. I'm Lung Ruoxue, and she's my elder sister. They're my maidservants and subordinates. Lung Ruoxue didn't give Ning Yen a chance to speak and introduced him first. Just now, the dolphin had already sent her a voice transmission, saying that this man named Xiao Bing was the one who had been chasing after him and wanted to form a contract with him. So, she naturally had to be careful. Ning Yan's name would make people think of the Ning family. Before she could figure out this man's identity, she naturally didn't want to drag the Ning family into this. After the introduction, Leng Ruoxue sent a voice transmission to Ning Yan, Sister Yan. This person is the one who chased the dolphin and wanted to form a contract with it. Oh, little Sister Ruoxue, if I remember correctly, this person should be from the Divine Master's estate. The Divine Master's estate has a divine emperor called Xiao Bing. However, I hope that this Xiao Bing is not the one from the Divine Master's estate. Ning Yan replied worriedly. Why? Leng Ruoxue was confused. Sister Ruoxue, you may not know this, but Xiao Bing from the Divine Master's estate is not the strongest in the Divine Master's estate. However, he is a sinister man who likes to play dirty tricks behind people's backs. Therefore, the people in the divine world gave him the nickname, Smiling Divine Emperor. In addition, many people would rather offend a divine emperor who is stronger than him than to provoke Xiao Bing, mainly because Xiao Bing is too difficult to deal with. Anyone who is entangled with him will be driven crazy by him. So, we have to be careful and not let him find out where that stinky dolphin is. Otherwise, I'm afraid our good days will come to an end. Ning Yan said gloomily, cursing the dolphin in her heart. It was the dolphin's fault that Xiao Bing was provoked. Yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head slightly without a change in expression. The conversation between the two of them had only lasted for a few seconds. However, in order to not let the man in front of her notice anything amiss, she had to smile when she was communicating with Ning Yan. Hello, Miss Leng. It's a pleasure to meet you. Xiao Bing smiled faintly, but his sharp eyes seemed to be sizing up the others. After a long while, are the White Tiger and the Dark Tiger King Miss Leng's beastie? Xiao Bingkai asked. Yes, I am. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Before she understood Xiao Bing's intentions, she didn't intend to say too much. I really didn't think that Miss Leng's beastie would have such strength. Xiao Bing exclaimed in admiration with an envious look on his face, while he was trying to guess Leng Ruoxue's identity. This was clearly the Ning family's divine realm. If this young lady was from the Ning family, it would make sense for her to have two powerful beasts. However, this young lad's surname was Leng, which made him suspicious. In the entire firmament, he did not dare to claim that he knew all the clans of various sizes like the back of his hand. However, he was also very clear that among the clans of medium grade and above that he knew, there was no clan with the surname Leng. Furthermore, a clan that could own a God King level beast would definitely not be a small and unknown clan. Furthermore, Leng Ruoxue's strength was extremely low. If she did not come from a top-notch clan, it would be impossible for her to live in the firmament with her strength. In the divinity, only reverent God level cultivators could create their own small world. Hence, only the younger generation of clans with reverent God level cultivators could live in the divinity. Hence, even though he could not figure out Leng Ruoxue's background, out of careful consideration, he would not rashly ask about her background. However, at the same time, he was also suspicious that Leng Ruoxue had given him a fake name. I'm just lucky to have them. Leng Ruoxue chuckled as she explained. Master, I want to eat grilled fish, quickly grill it for me. At this moment, the Dark Tiger King interjected at the right time, fully displaying the fact that it was a beastie that was extremely dependent on its master. Yen, who was by its side, also had an expression of anticipation. Having lived for so long, the Shadow Tiger King had long since become a demon. When it heard Leng Ruoxue say that the couple were her beasts, it immediately realized that there was something wrong with this man. Moreover, this man had emerged from the Frost Lake, and the dolphin had also emerged from there. Thus, after some thought, it guessed that this man might be the person who had chased the dolphin to make a contract with it. Chapter 1553, The Smiling Celestial Emperor, 3. Unless there was no other choice or by chance, there was almost no one among the beasties who would foolishly acknowledge a master on their own accord. And towards humans who wanted to capture them and force them to form a contract, the beasties had always shared a common enemy. Therefore, although they did not have much of a friendship with that dolphin, but on account that everyone was beasties, it was still very willing to help him. Moreover, that dolphin had now acknowledged that little girl as its master, and that little girl had done its entire family a great favor. It naturally couldn't just stand by and watch. You're a foodie, you only know how to eat. Lung Ruoxue patted the Shadow Tiger King's head as she said this, pretending to be helpless. Then, she turned to Xiaobing and said apologetically, I'm sorry, I've made a fool of myself. After that, she took out the fish that she had kept earlier and handed them to Grape for her to clean up. Lotus Seed took the initiative to relight the fire. Looking at the familiar-looking fish, Xiaobing said, Miss Lung and the others are here to fish? Yep. After fishing for the whole morning, I only managed to catch a few. I wanted to take them home to eat, but who knew that I, this glutton beastie, couldn't hold back? Lung Ruoxue explained with a smile. Since she didn't leave, she wasn't in a hurry to leave, in case Xiaobing noticed something. I've also heard that the fish in this cold pond are very delicious. Why don't I make some more and we can roast them together? Xiaobing said enthusiastically. After he finished speaking, he did not give Lung Ruoxue a chance to reject him. He used his divine power to form a 1-meter-wide fishing net and threw it into the water. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue looked at Ning Yen and transmitted her voice. Sister Yen, I'm using a fishing net. So what? Fishing rods had their own fun. Furthermore, even if he uses a net, he might not be able to catch the fish. Otherwise, the fish here wouldn't be so difficult to catch. Ning Yen said disapprovingly. Alright, you're right. Lung Ruoxue saw that Ning Yen was looking down on Xiaobing's fishing net, so she tactfully stopped talking about it. After all, the result would be clear. After waiting for a while, when Xiaobing lifted the net, there was not a single fish in sight. There were only a few stalks of seaweed in the huge net. Seeing this, Ning Yen was extremely pleased. Lung Ruoxue ignored Ning Yan's smugness and focused on roasting the fish in her hands. Xiaobing, on the other hand, was unwilling to give up and cast the net again. Mr. Xiaobing, you need a fishing rod to catch the fish here. Ning Yen reminded him kindly. A fishing net is fine too, I've fished it before. However, you have to be patient. Xiaobing said calmly, his gaze fixed on Lung Ruoxue, who was concentrating on roasting the fish. Then I wish you success. Ning Yen ignored Xiaobing and sat beside Lung Ruoxue after she finished speaking. After a long time, Xiaobing pulled in the net for the umpteenth time and finally caught more than 10 fish. The net can really catch them. Ning Yen mumbled to herself as she looked at the dozen palm-sized fish. Of course you can, but you need to be patient. Xiaobing said with a smile, then found a place to sit down. Lung Ruoxue passed Xiaobing a fish. Xiaobing didn't stand on ceremony. After saying his thanks, he started to gnaw on it elegantly. Everyone ate and chatted, and in just a short while, they became familiar with each other. Xiaobing saw that the time was right, so he coughed lightly and slowly explained the reason. You must be very curious as to why I came out of the water. Xiaobing said with a smile. Lung Ruoxue and Ning Yen looked at each other and nodded. However, neither of them continued the conversation. Xiaobing didn't mind and continued talking. Actually, I'm chasing after a dolphin. Xiaobing said, then continued, that dolphin used to be a guard of the God Lord's estate. Because he made a mistake, he was punished by the God Lord. He was not willing to be punished, so he injured the guard who was watching him and escaped from the God Lord's estate. I was ordered to hunt him down. I chased him to the endless ocean, and he used his familiarity with the sea to escape from a sea eye in the endless ocean. I followed the sea eye and came here. If you know where he is, tell me, and the Divine Master will definitely reward you. Xiaobing continued. You're from the Divine Master's estate. Ning Yen pretended to be surprised, and her expression turned into one of admiration. As for Xiaobing's question, she ignored it. Did you guys see a dolphin appear here? If you do, please tell me where he is. The God Lord's estate will definitely not mistreat you. Xiaobing repeated with a nod. I'm sorry. We didn't see any dolphins, but you can tell us what he looks like. We'll definitely let you know when we find his tracks. Ning Yan said very seriously. Sister Yen is right. Tell us what the dolphin looks like. We'll inform you as soon as we know where it is. Lung Ruoxue chimed in as well, her beautiful face filled with anticipation. Even though the dolphin's story was different from Xiao Bing's, she still chose to believe it. Other than the fact that the dolphin was already her beastie, the main reason was that Xiao Bing's story was full of loopholes. He had said that the dolphin was a guard of the Divine Lord's estate. However, the dolphin was right in front of him, and he had not recognized it. How could he have the nerve to say that the dolphin was a guard of the Divine Lord's estate? Wasn't this making others laugh their heads off? However, she didn't expect Ning Yan to be so good at acting, which was a little beyond her expectations. You guys really didn't see it? Xiao Bing couldn't quite believe it, because in his opinion, the dolphin's speed shouldn't be much faster than his. If these people had been fishing here all this time, how could they not have seen the dolphin? Lung Ruoxue and the rest nodded. Haven't you been here the whole morning? Xiao Bing asked the question in his heart. However, we didn't stay by the pond all the time, so Lung Ruoxue stopped halfway through her sentence and decided to let Xiao Bing make his own guess. I see. Although Xiao Bing was still suspicious of Lung Ruoxue's words, he thought about it carefully. These women didn't seem like people who had the patience to stay still and fish. When he thought about this, he put down the doubts in his heart. After Lung Ruoxue and the rest finished their fish, they planned to leave. However, Xiao Bing did not leave just like that. Instead, he wanted to follow them. In his own words, he was not very familiar with the Ning clan's divine realm, and it would be good to have company if he went with them. His thoughts made Lung Ruoxue and the rest suffer in silence. If it wasn't for the dolphin, Lung Ruoxue would have told him directly that she didn't like to hang out with strangers. However, she couldn't say it out loud now. Who asked the other party to not dispel their suspicions? Chapter 1554. The Smiling Celestial Emperor, 4. Sister Yen. What do we do now? Lung Ruoxue sent a message to Ning Yan. Sister Ruoxue, why don't you bring him to the Ning family? With Dad around, Xiao Bing won't be able to do anything. Ning Yan said after some thought. Sister Yen, Xiao Bing is from the Divine Master's estate. It's not good to drag the Ning family into this. Lung Ruoxue didn't agree with Ning Yan's opinion. In her eyes, Xiao Bing was definitely not a friend. Once Xiao Bing found out that the dolphin she was looking for had already recognized her as its master, he would probably fly into a rage out of humiliation. Now, she obviously didn't want the Ning family to have any conflict with the Divine Master's estate. Then what do we do? Ning Yan was in a dilemma. She didn't want the Ning family and the Divine Master's estate to fight each other. Sister Yen, how about we split up? Take the grapes, lotus seeds, and the dolphin back to the Ning family first. Also, help me tell Godfather that I have something to do and will be back late. It'll take Xiao Bing, Tiger King, and his wife to take another route. After shaking him off, he'll go back to the Ning family. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment. This should be the best solution she could think of. No. That Xiao Bing might look decent, but he was actually very sinister. How can I let you leave with him? Besides, it's hard to say whether he'll follow you or not. He's not someone who'll be manipulated by others. Ning Yan objected. Sister Yen, there's no other way. I don't want to drag the Ning family into this. Take grape and leave. I have my ways to deal with this Xiao Bing. Lung Ruoxue consoled. Little sister Ruoxue, do you think that we are holding you back? Ning Yan said aggrievedly, feeling very unwilling in her heart. Sister Yen. It's good that you know. Lung Ruoxue had no choice but to follow Ning Yan's lead. Little sister Ruoxue, I'm sad. Ning Yan's resentful eyes followed Lung Ruoxue. She thought to herself, Sister Ruoxue is too honest. Even if she really had such thoughts, she shouldn't have said it out loud. Sister Yen, you should know that I have no choice. If I bring Xiao Bing to the Ning family and something happens, the Ning family won't be able to hold him back. Lung Ruoxue tried to persuade him. Actually, the Ning family might not be afraid of Xiao Bing, but the Divine Master's estate that Xiao Bing represented was very troublesome. Now was not the time to start a conflict with the Divine Master's estate. In short, the time was not right. All right then. However, your maidservant and that dolphin may not leave with me. Ning Yen compromised. I'll tell them. After Leng Ruoxue was done speaking, she sent voice transmissions to Grape, Lotus Seed and Dolphin. Although they were unwilling, after Leng Ruoxue emphasized that they would drag her down, the three of them kept quiet. After settling their matters, Leng Ruoxue said to Xiaobing, Mr. Xiaobing, my sister has something else to do, so we'll have to split up for a while. Which way do you plan to go? Not far from the Frost Lake, there were 2 roads leading to the other side. When Leng Ruoxue said this, she wasn't sure if Xiaobing would go with her, so she decided to let Xiaobing choose first. In any case, she had already made up her mind. Whichever road Xiaobing took, she would follow. She didn't believe that Xiaobing would have any way to follow them. Miss Leng, which path do you plan to take? Xiaobing asked instead of answering. I'm planning to take the left path to the Nightless City. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. What is Miss Leng going to the Nightless City for? Xiaobing's face was full of question marks. Look at the fireflies. I heard that the fireflies in the Nightless City are at their most beautiful right now. I want to see them. Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. What about this Miss Leng? He pointed at Ning Yen and asked. Younger sister is going to the Nightless City, so I naturally have to go to the Ning family's divine realm to handle some matters. Ning Yen said matter-of-factly. I wonder what Miss Leng is going to do in the Ning family's divine realm? Xiaobing asked again. Mr. Xiaobing, do I need to report to you what I'm going to do in the Ning family's god realm? What I'm going to do is naturally a family matter, which is also a secret of our family. Please forgive me for not being able to disclose it. Ning Yan's face turned serious and she said angrily. Miss Leng, you've misunderstood me. I'm just a little curious. Please forgive my rudeness. Xiaobing's attitude was very good, and he was not annoyed by Ning Yan's words. It's okay. I know this is an occupational disease of the Divine Lord's residence. Ning Yan was also very generous, but her words made Xiaobing a little unhappy. Sister, didn't you have something to do? Let's go quickly. Don't delay the important things. Without giving Xiaobing a chance to react, Leng Ruoxue urged him on. Ning Yan nodded and summoned Crane, then flew towards the Ning family's divine realm with Grape and the other 2. The moment they left, only Leng Ruoxue, Xiaobing, and the 2 tigers were left. After Ning Yan and the rest had disappeared, Leng Ruoxue turned to Xiaobing and said, Mr. Xiaobing, where do you plan to go? I'll go with you to the Nightless City to see fireflies. Xiaobing said with a smile. Good. Then let's go. After Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, she walked towards the road leading to the Nightless City. As he walked, he transmitted his voice to the fellow in the beastie dimension. Why did you come back? Don't you know that Xiaobing is looking for you? Leng Ruoxue's head was hurting. She had finally let Ning Yan take them away, but who knew that this dolphin would sneak back and enter her beast dimension without a sound? I'm worried about Master. Of course, I have to stay by Master's side to protect you. Dolphin said in an aggrieved voice. Protect me? It's already good enough that you didn't come back and add to my troubles. It was clear that Leng Ruoxue didn't think highly of him, and this hurt the pretty Dolphin man's self-esteem. Master, I'm very strong. Dolphin reminded. He's so strong that he's being chased around and hiding. Leng Ruoxue used her divine sense to look at the small dolphin that was standing tall in the beast dimension. He's stronger than me. If I don't run, he'll be caught by him. The dolphin's face was full of resentment. It didn't want to become a slave to humans. Of course, the owner it found was an exception. If you're afraid of being caught, then you'd better behave. I, your master, am weak and can't protect you. Leng Ruoxue reminded. I just want to stay by Master's side obediently. I won't drag Master down. Dolphin promised. That's good. After Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, she cut off the connection with the dolphin. That was because Xiaobing was talking to her. Leng Ruoxue lifted her beautiful eyes and said in embarrassment, What did Sir Xiaobing just say? I was a little distracted and didn't hear you clearly. I'm asking if Miss Leng is planning to go to the Nightless City by foot. Xiaobing chuckled. Yup. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head and thought, you better not want to leave. This way they could part ways. God knew how much she didn't want to pretend to be nice to Xiaobing. Chapter 1555. The Smiling Celestial Emperor, 5. Miss Leng doesn't have a flying beast? Xiaobing asked again. There is. However, my flying beast is in closed-door cultivation, so I can only trouble my 2 legs. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. She was speaking the truth. Because his flying beastie was indeed in seclusion. I see, then use mine. Otherwise, I don't know when we'll be able to reach Nightless City. Xiaobing didn't doubt him this time, but suggested. I'm sorry, I'm sick of flying beasts. Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with apology. Her words made Xiaobing little angry. In his entire life, he had never heard of cultivators who could make their flying beasts unconscious. Hence, he did not believe Leng Ruoxue's words at all. However, since Leng Ruoxue had already said so, he could not possibly force her to sit on his flying beast. Although he really wanted to do that, he did not want to ruin his relationship with Leng Ruoxue. However, he was also feeling rather depressed. After all, he was still a divine emperor. He also had the God Lord's estate as his backing. He had never received such treatment before. However, even though he was angry as he looked at Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face, he could not vent his anger no matter how much he wanted to. Her beauty was misleading. Following that, Xiaobing walked side by side with Leng Ruoxue without saying a word. The Dark Tiger King and his wife followed behind them. In the evening, Leng Ruoxue saw that the sky was already dark and suggested that they find a place to camp. Although Xiaobing was depressed, he did not object. However, he did not know when they would reach Nightless City at their current speed. Leng Ruoxue didn't care what Xiaobing was thinking. In any case, she was going to rest, stop, eat, and sleep. After finding an empty space, Leng Ruoxue set up her tent and had a simple meal before going to sleep in her tent. Xiaobing, on the other hand, was sitting by the fire, deep in thought. He didn't know what had happened to him. Even if he was suspicious of Leng Ruoxue, there was no need for him to follow her around like a fool, right? And if he really wanted to find out something, wouldn't it be better to just bring her to the Divine Master's estate? Why go through so much trouble? He couldn't explain his abnormal behavior. Even though he had a good impression of Leng Ruoxue, he didn't think that he was someone who had the patience to coax women. So what was he doing now? Xiaobing was in a dilemma the entire night, while Leng Ruoxue had already entered the bracelet and had a good sleep. The next day, the two of them continued on their journey. The Tiger King couple had entered the house yesterday, but they were not released today. Little girl, please let me out. The Dark Tiger King kept on transmitting his voice to Leng Ruoxue. It was so noisy that Leng Ruoxue could not stand it anymore. She directly blocked off the house from the outside world before her heart finally calmed down. Just like that, Leng Ruoxue and Xiaobing walked slowly. After close to 10 days, they finally arrived at the Nightless City. When they entered the Nightless City, it was daytime and there were very few pedestrians in the city. However, there were 2 extremely ugly old men who were particularly eye-catching, because they were like ants on a hot pan, constantly walking back and forth at the city gate. My good daughter, you've finally come. Your father has been waiting for you for many days. A tall and ugly old man gave Leng Ruoxue a bear hug the moment he saw her. He pulled Leng Ruoxue into his arms and said with tears flowing down his face, My good granddaughter, Grandpa has missed you so much. The other old man pulled Leng Ruoxue out of the arms of the old man who claimed to be her father and said with tears in his eyes. When the two of them saw Leng Ruoxue, they were extremely excited. Leng Ruoxue was only stunned for a moment before she called out sweetly, Grandpa father. Why you guys here? These 2 people were none other than the master of the Ning family and the first elder of the Craftsmen's Guild who had taken the disguise pill. We missed you, the 2 of them said in unison. Then, the master of the Ning family explained, I heard from your sister that you're going to Nightless City to see fireflies. We're worried, so we followed you to see. Oh, big sister is home already? Leng Ruoxue asked on purpose. We're home. Your sister's business is all done. But you, why are you so slow? The master of the Ning family asked. I'm sick of flying beasts. So we walked here. This is already considered fast. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile, but she was a little depressed in her heart. After nearly 10 days, she still couldn't get rid of this guy. She was really a failure. Even though she had thought of entering the bracelet and never coming out, she was afraid that Xiaobing would become even more suspicious. After all, Xiaobing was keeping a close eye on her. If she went missing for no reason, it would only make him more suspicious. So, she could only swallow her anger and follow Xiaobing on the journey. Fortunately, Xiaobing had been well behaved along the way. Otherwise, she would not mind making him the first eunuch in the Divine Master's estate. AI, my poor child. You must be exhausted. The master of the Ning family said with heartache. His goddaughter had really put in a lot of effort to get rid of that Xiaobing. However, it did not seem to have any effect, because he had already felt a probing gaze. It's all right. It's all thanks to Sir Xiaobing's care along the way. Lung Ruoxue had not forgotten about Xiaobing's existence. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Xiaobing smiled apologetically and said, Miss Lung is too polite. This is what I should do. How is this what you should do? Don't talk nonsense. My daughter is not married yet. If you can't get married, you'll have to take responsibility. The master of the Ning family said unhappily. He was really angered by Xiaobing's words. As his father, he couldn't stand any young man saying that it was his duty to take care of his daughter. Wasn't that clearly trying to snatch his daughter away from him? This was preposterous. If Miss Ling really can't get married because of this, I'm willing to take responsibility. Xiaobing seized the opportunity and said rudely, You wish. The master of the Ning family was even angrier. He really didn't expect Xiaobing to be so thick-skinned, but now that he thought about it, it seemed that his words were a little inappropriate, but words that had been said were like water that had been spilled. Even if he wanted to take them back, he couldn't, so he could only sulk alone. When Lung Ruoxue heard their conversation, the black lines on her forehead immediately slid down. Although she was a little angry, she was smart enough not to interrupt. Otherwise, it would only make things worse. In fact, Xiaobing had his own reasons for saying that. He had been looking at the two old men for a long time, but he couldn't tell what their cultivation levels were. He couldn't help but feel puzzled, and there were only two possibilities if he couldn't tell. One was that they had equipment that could hide their cultivation levels, and the other was that their cultivation levels were higher than his. He would rather not be able to see through the cultivation base of the two old men because they had equipment that could hide their cultivation base than to see their cultivation base above his. He was already an immortal emperor. If their cultivation base was higher than his, it was self-evident what kind of strength they had. Therefore, he spared no effort in saying such ambiguous words to test their cultivation base. Chapter 1556. Shifting the source of trouble to the east, 1. However, the other party didn't seem to be fooled. Other than being a little angry, there was no other reaction. Thinking of this, he could only continue to add fire. I'm serious. I'm already a divine emperor. I should be worthy of Miss Lung. Xiaobing said confidently, who knew that the master of the Ning family would just look at Xiaobing indifferently, then turn to Lung Ruoxue and say, Shui, let's go and ignore this lunatic. This time, he couldn't even be bothered to be angry. He had lived for so long. If he couldn't even see through this little trick of the other party, then wouldn't he have lived in vain? Right? My good granddaughter. Let's go. The first elder said. Then, the two of them escorted Lung Ruoxue and headed towards the inn they had booked. Seeing this, Xiaobing wasn't angry, but followed behind the three of them. In short, it wasn't easy to get rid of him. After entering the inn, Master Ning and First Elder pulled Lung Ruoxue into a room. Then, they glared at Lung Ruoxue with anger. No one spoke first. When Lung Ruoxue saw their expressions, she could only put on an obedient look and let them stare at her. However, she would occasionally show her grievances. Finally, the master of the Ning family couldn't bear it anymore. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he said in an unpleasant tone, You're actually feeling wronged. Damn girl, do you know how impetuous you were? If Xiaobing really had bad intentions towards you, we wouldn't even be able to see you now. What he meant was that Xiaobing might have taken Shui, somewhere. That brat had ill intentions towards Shui, from the start. However, it's a good thing he hasn't done anything yet. The first elder added fuel to the fire. From his tone, one could hear a trace of dissatisfaction towards Leng Ruoxue. Godfather, Grandpa, I know you're worried about me, but I know what I'm doing. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. She had many ways to escape, but she would not use them unless she had no other choice. She knew that Godfather and First Elder would be worried about her because of this, but now was not the time to reveal her trump card. After all, one had to have some secrets. Wretched girl. What did you call him? Suddenly, the master of the Ning family pointed at the great elder and questioned him angrily. Grandpa, what's wrong? Leng Ruoxue was at a complete loss. Her godfather seemed to be even angrier. That's right. What's wrong with Shui, calling me grandfather? The great elder chuckled provocatively, but he couldn't help but wonder if he should thank that Xiaobing. If it wasn't for Shui wanting to get rid of him, he wouldn't have had the chance to be his grandfather. Shui, you're not allowed to call him grandfather. The master of the Ning family ordered. At this moment, his mind was filled with the word grandfather from Leng Ruoxue's mouth. How could he still be bothered about what had happened before? On what basis? You were the one who agreed for me to appear as Shui Heir's grandfather. Without waiting for Leng Ruoxue's reaction, First Elder roared in dissatisfaction. This damned old man was clearly burning the bridge after crossing the river. They had a good deal at home. One was a godfather and the other was a grandfather. However, now that he had found Shui, he actually turned his back on her. How preposterous. This definitely can't happen. I didn't say you're not allowed to be Shui Heir's grandfather. I just don't allow Shui to call you grandfather. The master of the Ning family emphasized that this stinky old man calling himself grandfather and Shui calling him were two completely different things. So, in order to protect his own interests, he would never allow this to happen. Is there a difference? The great elder was confused. There's a big difference, the master of the Ning family said fiercely. As Leng Ruoxue listened to their conversation, the black lines on her forehead slid down uncontrollably. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Her godfather and the great elder had actually forgotten to continue scolding her just because of the matter of how they addressed her. But this was good too. She could finally catch her breath. However, things were not as good as Leng Ruoxue had thought. Master Ning and the great elder argued for a while before he turned his attention back to Leng Ruoxue and continued to ramble on and on. After a long time, Leng Ruoxue was about to fall asleep from the scolding, and Master Ning finally stopped. The parched master of the Ning family and the great elder, who had been fanning the flames, picked up the teacups on the table and drank it all in one gulp. Then, the two of them stared at Leng Ruoxue, eyes wide open. From their long talk, Leng Ruoxue knew that Ning Yen had already brought the grapes and lotus seeds back to the Ning family. When they heard that she was with Xiaobing, her godfather and great elder rushed over immediately. They stayed in the nightless city for almost 10 days because they did not expect Leng Ruoxue to arrive so slowly. These days, they had been worried that Leng Ruoxue would be bullied and be hurt. Now that they saw her, they were all worried. Naturally, they wanted to vent out all the dissatisfaction in their hearts. Hence, Leng Ruoxue, who knew she was in the wrong, did not stop them. Godfather, how's the family competition? Leng Ruoxue let out a soft sigh and changed the topic. The middle stage of the competition should have ended by now, but she didn't see it. All of this was caused by that annoying fellow, Xiaobing. So, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but feel a trace of resentment towards him from the bottom of her heart. Ning Shan and Ning Hai, those two little guys, have performed well. They've already entered the final stage of the competition. If we can hurry back as soon as possible, we should be able to see the final match. The master of the Ning family knew what Shui wanted to ask, so he didn't keep her in suspense and told her directly. In fact, after Shui Heir's accident, He had originally wanted to postpone the family competition, but considering that it had already been suspended once, he did not do so this time. Otherwise, the Ning family's clansmen would be overthinking things again. That's good. Lung Ruoxue nodded. My good granddaughter. How do you plan to get rid of Xiaobing? It seems like Xiaobing is planning to pester you. At this time, the first elder asked worriedly, and even deliberately emphasized the words, good granddaughter. His eyes also faintly floated to the master of the Ning family. Old man Ning had agreed to this, so of course he had to call out to his heart's content. I don't know. I've tried a lot along the way, and I've also hinted that he'll go home after seeing the fireflies, but he ignored me. Lung Ruoxue felt a headache coming on. From the beginning to the end, Xiaobing had never believed her and had even been testing her, trying to find out more about her. So, she really didn't know how to deal with Xiaobing, who was like a sticky candy. Shui, if it really doesn't work, we'll just cut him off. The master of the Ning family made a gesture of cutting his throat and said with a ruthless face, Godfather, if we kill Xiaobing, we'll have offended the Divine Master's estate, and we'll probably have to face them head-on. Lung Ruoxue asked worriedly. To the Divine World, the God Lord's estate was a colossal existence. If the Ning family was the king of the Divine World, then the God Lord's estate would be the emperor of the entire Divine World. Furthermore, there would definitely be countless experts in the God Lord's estate. Therefore, the God Lord's estate was not something that she could afford to provoke at the moment. Even the Ning family's chances of winning against the God Lord's estate were not high. Hence, she did not approve of a conflict with the God Lord's estate now. Chapter 1557, Shifting the Disaster to the East 2. Shui. The immortal realm is huge, and if Xiaobing dies, it won't be too soon for them to trace it back to us. However, if we really want to kill him, we have to be fully prepared. First Elder said after some thought. Godfather, Great Elder, Nightless City is too close to the Ning family's divine realm. If something happens to Xiaobing here, not only will the city lord not be able to escape, but the Divine Lord's estate will also target the Ning family's divine realm. Although the Divine Lord's estate won't have any evidence that we killed Xiaobing, it's not a good thing to be targeted by them. Lung Ruoxue analyzed. She wasn't a saint who would think for others in everything, but she didn't want to implicate the people of Nightless City. More importantly, Nightless City was attached to the Ning family's divine realm. If something really happened to the people of the God Lord's estate in Nightless City, the Ning family's divine realm wouldn't be able to get away with it. I really can just divert the disaster. The master of the Ning family laughed evilly, his face sinister. Old man, where are you trying to draw the trouble? The Grand Elder asked curiously. How's the Yao clan? Master Ning said with a smile. I think it's fine. The first elder nodded seriously with a gloating expression. Lung Ruoxue looked at how excited her godfather and great elder were and could not bear to dampen their spirits. However, she could not help but pity the Yao family. Poor Yao family. Why are you so tired of Godfather's eyes? In fact, she was also clear that although the relationship between the 8 great divine regions seemed to be close, in reality, there were many contradictions in the light and in the dark. Things like dragging each other down happened from time to time. Moreover, the Yao family, as the second largest family, had always been envious of the Ning family and had secretly caused trouble for them. At the same time, the Yao family was also the biggest thorn in the Ning family's side. Hence, it was only natural that Godfather wanted to lure Xiaobing to the Yao family's territory. However, he did not know if Xiaobing would fall for it. Then it's decided. Tomorrow, we'll go to the Yao family's divine territory for a stroll. Master Ning couldn't hide the pride on his face, and he was even more narcissistic in his heart. How could he be so smart? He really admired himself. Godfather, how far is the Yao family's god domain from here? Lung Ruoxue could not help but ask. If we're fast, we'll be there in 5 days. Master Ning's face revealed a wretched smile, and he was also a little excited in his heart. He had wanted to deal with that old thing in the Yao family for a long time. Today, he finally found an opportunity to add some trouble to the Yao family. He believed that after this matter was done, the Yao family would not be able to rest for a while. 5 days? Then wouldn't the round trip take 10 days? Would we still be able to make it in time for the clan competition? Lung Ruoshuet. Don't worry. The final stage of the competition would take at least half a month. This doesn't even include the rest time in between, so we have enough time. The master of the Ning family frowned and calculated before saying, "But I told Xiaobing that flying beasts would faint. We can't just walk to the Yao family's divine realm." Lung Ruoxu's beautiful face was filled with innocence. She blinked her beautiful eyes and stared at the two old men in front of her. If we were to walk, it would probably take at least half a year to get there. The master of the Ning family said seriously, "Damn old man, now is not the time for you to joke." When the great elder heard the Ning family master's words, he glared at him unhappily, then said, "It's just making flying beasts dizzy. This was not a big deal. If Xiaobing asks, you can just say that you ate a beast stun pill. Animal knockout powder? There's such a thing?" Lung Ruoxue had a look of surprise on her face. She had heard of medicine for motion sickness and seasickness, but this was the first time she had heard of medicine for beast sickness. Of course not. However, you can just make up something to fool him. The first elder disapprovingly said. All right. Lung Ruoxue wiped away the cold sweat on her forehead and agreed. We'll head to the Yao clan's divine domain tomorrow morning. Have a good rest. The master of the Ning family made the final decision, and then he said, "Shue, girl, take out your house. Let's go in and sleep. It's going to be very noisy outside." Lung Ruoxue nodded. She then took out the house and placed it in the spacious living room. The living room was very large. It seemed that his godfather had already prepared it. After taking out the house, the master of the Ning family and the great elder walked straight in. As for Lung Ruoxue, she was lying on the bed in the inn. When night fell, Lung Ruoxue left the room on purpose to put on a good show. She planned to go see the fireflies, and as expected, she saw Xiaobing waiting for her. "Miss Lung, did you sleep well?" Outside the room, Xiaobing, who was leaning against the corridor wall, greeted Lung Ruoxue with a faint smile. "Not good. I don't like the bed." Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. She then continued, "Mr. Xiaobing, father and grandfather are bringing me home tomorrow." "Oh, may I know where Miss Lung's home is? Perhaps we can go the same way." Xiaobing said with a smile. After hearing Xiaobing's words, Lung Ruoxue was extremely depressed. How could Xiaobing be so thick-skinned? Lung Ruoxue had already said that she was going home, yet she still wanted to go the same way as her. However, this was also within her expectations, so Lung Ruoxue only grumbled in her heart. She then chuckled and said, "My home is in the Yao family's god domain. May I know what is the relationship between Miss Lung and the Yao family?" Xiaobing asked as he searched for the news of the smaller clans in the Yao clan's divine realm, but to no avail. "I have nothing to do with the Yao family. We're just living in the Yao family's divine realm." Lung Ruoxu's lips curled into a smile as she replied indifferently. "Oh." Xiaobing replied softly. After saying that, he felt a little frustrated. There were many small and medium-sized clans in the Yao clan's divine realm, but Lung Ruoxue said that they had nothing to do with the Yao clan. Was this possible? The families in the Yao family's divine realm were basically dependent on the Yao family for survival. Otherwise, the Yao family wouldn't have allowed you to live in the Yao family's divine realm. Hence, his intuition told him that Lung Ruoxue was lying to him again. "I know what Sir Xiaobing is thinking, but my family only has my grandfather, father, and sister. The Yao family won't like us, and we're only temporarily staying in the Yao family's divine realm. Once we have a fixed place to stay, we'll leave that place." Lung Ruoxue, who had seen through Xiaobing's thoughts, explained with a forced smile. After hearing Lung Ruoxu's words, the doubts in Xiaobing's heart were slightly relieved. However, he did not completely believe Lung Ruoxu's words, because his intuition told him that the three of them had a secret. "Miss Lung, I'm also going to the Yao clan's divine realm. Let's go together tomorrow." After a moment of silence, Xiaobing finally spoke. Actually, he did not have to follow Lung Ruoxue and the other two, but he was too suspicious. He felt that Lung Ruoxue was a mystery, so the more confused he was, the more he wanted to find out. All right. Lung Ruoxue nodded, then turned around and went downstairs. Xiaobing naturally followed. Chapter 1558, Shifting the Disaster to the East. 3. Their room was on the second floor. The first floor was the hotel lobby and the dining room. After Lung Ruoxue went downstairs, she went to the dining room to have something to eat before leaving the hotel. Xiaobing followed by her side. As she walked on the streets of the nightless city and looked at the people walking to and fro, she thought about the time bomb that was following her. No matter what, Lung Ruoxue couldn't bring herself to be happy. However, it was a good thing that Xiaobing didn't talk much. Otherwise, she would be even more depressed. After a long time, Lung Ruoxue felt that it was about time. Sir Xiaobing, it's getting late. We still have to head to the Yao clan's divine domain tomorrow. Why don't we return to the inn earlier to rest? Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she reminded him. Xiaobing nodded. The reason why he followed them out was to keep an eye on Lung Ruoxue. Since Lung Ruoxue was going back, there was no reason for him to continue loitering around on the streets. After returning to the inn, Lung Ruoxue greeted Xiaobing and returned to her room. She only heaved a sigh of relief when she entered her room. Acting was quite tiring, especially when the opponent was a difficult character. The next morning, after Lung Ruoxue and her two grandparents had their breakfast, they planned to head to the Yao clan's divine realm. Standing at the door of the inn, the master of the Ning family looked at Xiaobing and said with a smirk, "Mr. Xiaobing, can I borrow your flying beast?" When our flying beasts came here, they flew too fast and got tired. In fact, he was afraid that Xiaobing would recognize him if he took out his flying beast, so he had no choice but to target Xiaobing. Who asked that guy to stick to them? Xiaobing had no choice but to summon his flying beast. His flying beast was a huge flying bear. It was almost 3 meters tall and its entire body was yellow in color. It was a level 8 Saint God beast and had a pair of golden wings that were slightly thinner than the flying bear. When Lung Ruoxue saw the flying bear, she almost laughed out loud. This was because it was a pair of wings on a bear's body. No matter how she looked at it, it was comical. Furthermore, she was very suspicious. With the bear's weight, could it even fly? Don't worry. Feifei's flying speed is very fast and very stable. Seeing through Lung Ruoxue's thoughts, Xiaobing said with a helpless expression, "Are you sure it won't fall from the sky?" Not only did Xiaobing's words not make Lung Ruoxue feel at ease, she even asked him directly. "I definitely want tea." Xiaobing looked helpless and did not know what to say. "Beauty. It'll make you comfortable. Don't worry." The giant bear, Feifei, saw that Lung Ruoxue did not trust it, so it promised her. However, it was fine if it did not say anything, but once it did, it would shock everyone with its words. When Lung Ruoxue heard Feifei's words, black lines appeared on her forehead. She thought to herself, could it be that one is marked by one's proximity to vermilion and one is marked by one's proximity to ink? Did it learn from its master to say such fantasizing words? At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes could not help but drift towards Xiaobing. Her probing and suspicious gaze made Xiaobing's face turn red, as if it was on fire. Feifei means that it'll be very comfortable to sit on it. Don't misunderstand. Xiaobing quickly explained, but after he said that, he felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Oh! Lung Ruoxue deliberately dragged her words and looked at Xiaobing with a half-smile, then at the giant bear who seemed to be embarrassed. She came to an important conclusion a beast takes after its master. A crooked upper beam will have a crooked lower beam. It's late. Let's get on our way. Xiaobing said awkwardly. Then he recalled that Lung Ruoxue had mentioned that she would be fazed by beasts. He looked at Lung Ruoxue worriedly and said, "Miss Lung, what are you going to do?" "What's wrong?" Feifei asked curiously. "Feifei, young lady Lung can make flying beasts faint." Xiaobing explained to his pet. "Oh, then it'll fly slower." Feifei looked at Lung Ruoxue with sympathy. Poor little beauty. Why would she faint on a flying beast? No need, I've already taken a beast vertigo pill. Lung Ruoxue said. She was secretly glad that she was prepared. Otherwise, she really didn't know how to deal with this. Beast vertigo pill? What's that? Xiaobing's face was filled with confusion and big question marks. His pair of black and bright eyes were staring at Lung Ruoxue without blinking, as if he was saying, "Open my eyes. This is it. If Sir Xiaobing is interested, you can try one." Lung Ruoxue took out a black pill from her bracelet and handed it to Xiaobing. Xiaobing took the pill and sniffed it. He was surprised to find that the pill was stinky. Although the smell was not obvious, he could not pretend that he could not smell it. This is the beast vertigo pill? Why is it stinky? Xiaobing's handsome face was filled with disbelief, but he knew how to ask shamelessly. It's stinky. Once you eat it, you won't have the mood to think about other things. That's why it's effective against fainting beasts. Lung Ruoxue's mind was spinning as she made up a story. Actually, that wasn't a beast vertigo pill. That pill was a stinky pill that she usually used to prank people. The reason why she had taken it out to fool people was because she knew that even an alchemist who was proficient in alchemy would not know what a stinky pill was. In the immortal realm, there was no one who really suffered from beast phobia, so even if Xiaobing wanted to find someone to test the pill on, he would not be able to find anything. Of course, there would still be a stench, and it would not be removed in a short period of time. Sir Xiaobing, do you want to compensate me? Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. No need. I don't have beast phobia. Xiaobing said hurriedly. He did not dare to eat anything carelessly. What if something really happened? Moreover, the pill's stench was somewhat unacceptable to him. What a pity! Lung Ruoxue felt a little regretful. Let's go, Xiaobing said as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Lung Ruoxue and the other two nodded and sat on Feifei's back. The fur on Feifei's back was very thick. It was indeed very comfortable to sit on, as it had said. However, Feifei was clearly a chatterbox. After it took off, its mouth did not stop. Furthermore, it kept calling Lung Ruoxue beauty. Lung Ruoxue was both angry and amused when she heard it. However, she could not be too calculative with a big stupid bear, so she could only pretend that she had not heard it. Beauty, why are you ignoring me? Seeing that it was being ignored by Lung Ruoxue, Feifei turned its head around and said with a face full of hidden bitterness. Focus on flying. Be careful, you might hit the tree. Lung Ruoxue reminded. The trees in the immortal realm were all tall and straight, and many of them even shot up into the sky. Hence, if one was not careful while flying, it was possible that one would crash into a tree. Who knew that just as she finished speaking, she heard a bang, followed by a violent shaking. Then, a few leaves fell on Lung Ruoxue's body. Chapter 1559. Shifting the disaster to the east. 4. Feifei really did crash into a tree. Lung Ruoxue almost laughed out loud when she saw the big bright bump on its head. Was she a jinx? Feifei, who had crashed into a huge tree, endured the pain and steadied its body. Then, it continued to look at Lung Ruoxue with a face full of resentment and slowly said in a wrong tone, Beauty, you have to compensate me. What does it have to do with me? I'm not the one who bumped into you. You can go ask it for compensation. Lung Ruoxue pointed at a giant tree not far away. It's not a beauty. Besides, I bumped into the tree because I turned around to talk to you. That's why you should make it up to me. Although Feifei was a bear, it was quite smart. It naturally knew that if something happened, it had to find the culprit. Did I ask you to turn around and talk to me? Lung Ruoxue was bewildered. No, I didn't. Feifei whispered. Since that's the case, you can just ask it for compensation. Lung Ruoxue reminded. But I just want you to compensate me. Feifei said shamelessly. Every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor. You can go look for whoever hit you. Lung Ruoxue rolled her eyes at Feifei. After she finished speaking, she turned around and did not look at it anymore. Feifei glared at Lung Ruoxue for a long while. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue had no reaction and its master looked like he was waiting for a good show, it sighed and resigned itself to its fate. This time, it finally closed its mouth. Actually, it was not that it did not want to talk anymore, but no one would bother with it even if it did. So, it was a bear that was despised by others. After 5 days of traveling, Lung Ruoxue and the rest finally reached the Yao clan's divine territory. Although the Yao family's god domain was ranked second among the 8 god domains, its size was not any smaller than the Ning family's god domain. In recent years, it even showed signs of surpassing the Ning family's god domain. The biggest reason for this was the Yao family's competitive ancestor. Fei Fei carried Lung Ruoxue and the rest and landed outside a small border city that belonged to the Yao clan's divine territory. This city was located at the very edge of the Yao family's divine territory. As it was quite far from the main city and there were very few people living in the city, it did not seem as luxurious as the other cities in the Yao family's divine territory. However, this city had a rather pleasant name, 100-Bird City. It was said that this 100-Bird City had a long history in the divine world, and its age was uncountable. This name was also passed down from the ancient times and had been used until today. Even compared to the main city of the Yao family, this 100-Bird City was an ancient city worthy of its name. However, the location of this 100-Bird City was too remote, so it was not valued by the Yao family. Lung Ruoxue and the rest walked into the city on foot. As they walked along the streets of 100-Bird City and looked at the antique-looking buildings, Master Ning couldn't help but exclaim, "This 100-Bird City is indeed an ancient city. It has a strong cultural atmosphere. As an ancient city, there would naturally be unforgettable things." However, with outsiders present, he could only sigh and not comment. However, the great elder did not have his concern. So what? In the eyes of the Yao clan, this city is of no value. The first elder curled his lips and said in disdain, "AI, what a pity." The master of the Ning family looked regretful. He couldn't help but think to himself, why did such a valuable ancient city have to be in the Yao family's divine realm? Wasn't that a waste of God's gift? What's there to pity? This city is old. It's time to let it rest. The first elder sighed. When Lung Ruoxue heard their conversation, she naturally knew what they were thinking. Her godfather and great elder had lived for God knows how long, so it was only natural for them to have a deep impression of these things that existed in their memories. It was a pity that the divine world was not the world she was in her past life, so they knew the value of cultural relics. Furthermore, these things happened to belong to the Yao family, so they probably didn't care about it. Otherwise, why would they let this ancient city be so deserted? And this 100-Bird City, compared to the other cities she had seen before, was indeed a little old, even not comparable to the Nightless City. AI. Shwe, let's go home. After the master of the Ning family sighed, he told everyone that he had asked his subordinates to buy a house, which happened to be located in the 100-Bird City. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Then, they followed the master of the Ning family to a house. This house was located in the northwest of 100-Bird City, less than 1,000 meters away from the city lord's mansion. It was in a very good location, and it faced south. Although it was just an ordinary house, the courtyard was full of flowers, looking particularly warm. After entering the courtyard, the master of the Ning family ordered someone to take Xiao Bing to the guest room, and they went back to their own rooms. After a simple rest, the master of the Ning family held a banquet to entertain Xiao Bing. During the banquet, Xiao Bing actually asked about Ning Yan's whereabouts, but he was simply pushed away by Lung Ruoxue. For the next few days, Lung Ruoxue also used cultivation as an excuse to hide in her room, avoiding Xiao Bing. Xiao Bing, who was staying in the guest courtyard, could not figure it out no matter how much he thought about it. Not only was he unable to see Lung Ruoxue, but he could also not see her grandfather and father. Xiao Bing, who was bored to death, walked out of the courtyard and was about to try looking for Lung Ruoxue and the others. Suddenly, a golden bird descended from the sky and landed on his shoulder. It spoke in the human language. "Sir Xiao Bing, the Divine Master has ordered you to return to the Divine Master's estate immediately." After saying that, The golden bird turned into nothingness and disappeared without a trace. This little golden bird was the Divine Master's unique communication method. No matter where he was, as long as he was still alive, he could find him. Moreover, this method was only used by the Divine Master. Even if others wanted to imitate it, they wouldn't have the chance. However, he couldn't understand why the Divine Master would summon him back at this time. However, since the Divine Master had already given the order, he naturally did not dare to delay. Even though he was a little unwilling, he could only leave this place. As for that Lung Ruoxue, he would find out more about her when he had the chance. Thinking of this, he strode towards the main courtyard. Xiao Bing was stopped by a man who claimed to be the butler as soon as he entered the main courtyard. "Mr. Xiao Bing, my lady is still cultivating." Ning Shan, who was disguised as the butler, said with a guarded expression. "I know. I want to see your master." Xiao Bing said helplessly. The butler was guarding against him as if he was a thief, and he really didn't know how he had offended him. "Is there anything I can help you with, Sir Xiao Bing? My master is taking an afternoon nap." Ning Shan said. "I'm here to bid farewell." Xiao Bing told the truth. What he didn't know was that his decision to leave had saved him from a fatal disaster. "Sir Xiao Bing is leaving?" Ning Shan was shocked. If Xiao Bing left, wouldn't their arrangements be in vain? The reason why they hadn't made a move for the past few days was to confuse Xiao Bing so that they wouldn't alert the enemy. However, now that the snake that they had set up was about to leave, their efforts would be in vain. Chapter 1560. The Mute Eats the Yellow Lotus. 1. The God Lord's mansion has an important matter. The God Lord has ordered me to return as soon as possible. Xiao Bing explained. Actually, he didn't need to explain to a butler, but after spending these few days together, he knew very well that if he didn't make things clear, the butler would never let him see the master of the Lung family. He, Xiao Bing, could get whatever he wanted in the Divine Lord's manor, but now he had to listen to a butler. What was going on? In that case, I'll inform my master. Please wait a moment, Mr. Xiao Bing. After Ning Shan finished speaking, she unwillingly entered her master's room. In the room, hearing Ning Shan's words, the master of the Ning family had a serious and unwilling expression. When Lung Ruoxue saw her godfather's expression, she chuckled and said, "Godfather, wasn't it good that he was leaving? Well, save a lot of trouble. Then we've come to the Yao family's divine realm for nothing. I've been setting it up for several days, but I didn't use it. I'm not satisfied," the master of the Ning family said in frustration. In fact, the reason he wanted to kill Xiao Bing was that he was too difficult to deal with. Other than that, he didn't do anything too much to Shui. However, if he could get rid of Xiao Bing and frame the Yao family, wouldn't that be perfect? Right now, he seemed to be more depressed that he couldn't frame the Yao family, and he didn't care about Xiao Bing's life or death. "Godfather, are you not willing to let the Yao family live a carefree life?" Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. "N." The master of the Ning family nodded without any courtesy. "That's easy," Lung Ruoxue said with a smirk. Then she whispered a few words into Master Ning's ear. In an instant, Master Ning revealed a wretched smile. Shui, you are indeed my goddaughter. Well, do as you say." Master Ning nodded with a smile. Shui, heir's idea was great. He didn't have to kill Xiao Bing, but he could still frame the Yao family. "Then, Godfather, please send Xiao Bing away," Lung Ruoxue urged. "Good. I'll go see him now." Master Ning left the room in a hurry. First Elder and Ning Shan, who were left in the room, saw that the master of the Ning family was suddenly excited. They were also very curious. Their eyes were fixed on Lung Ruoxue, as if they wanted to get an answer from her. However, Lung Ruoxue kept them in suspense and told them that they would know in a while. After a while, the master of the Ning family sent Xiao Bing off and returned to his room. Then he told Ning Shan about his arrangements. Then, Ning Shan left with a strange smile on her face. Late at night, Lung Ruoxue and the rest left the house that they had only stayed in for a few days. Before they left, they even set a fire. At the same time, Xiao Bing, who had just left Hundred Bird City, was on his way. He, who was lying on Feifei's body, suddenly staggered and almost fell off. At this moment, Feifei was flying in the air. If he fell, even if he didn't get crushed, he would be seriously injured. Therefore, he was extremely angry and was about to reprimand Feifei when he found that he was surrounded. There were dozens of people surrounding him, and they were all dressed in black, with unfriendly smiles on their faces. Moreover, they were all sitting on flying beasts. However, these men in black were obviously trained and were not like those ordinary bandits who robbed houses. From their looks, they looked more like guards of some family. However, most of the guards in the families in the divinity wore black, so Xiaobing could not tell where they came from. After calming himself down, Xiaobing slowly said, "Who are you people? What do you want to do? You are so bold. How dare you fly above our Yao family's god domain?" The leader of the black men glared at Xiaobing angrily. The other men in black shared the same hatred and glared at Xiaobing. Xiaobing was relieved to hear the leader's words. As long as these people were not bandits, it would be much easier to deal with them. After all, he was a member of the Divine Lord's manor. These people would not dare to disrespect the Divine Lord's manor. "You are the guards of the Yao clan?" Xiaobing asked despite knowing the answer. "So what if I am? Don't even think about trying to get close to us. Even if he's the emperor, he can't fly in the sky above our Yao family's god realm." The leader of the men in black shouted in a bad mood. "I'm Xiaobing from the Divine Master's estate. I'm going back to the Divine Master's mansion under the Divine Master's order. Please make it convenient for me. This is my token." As Xiaobing spoke, he took out a golden token. The two words, Xiaobing, were engraved on the front of the token, while the totem of the Divine Lord's manor was on the back. The leader of the men in black looked at the token and said with a smile, "It really is the token of the Divine Lord's estate. However, even if you are a member of the Divine Lord's estate, you can't fly in the sky above the Yao family's divine territory." "Oh really? Didn't your patriarch tell you that the token of the Divine Master's estate has special privileges no matter where it is?" Xiaobing laughed coldly as he became even more dissatisfied with the Yao family. The Yao family had gone too far. They dared to make things difficult for the people of the God Lord's estate. Didn't they know that the entire divine world was under the jurisdiction of the God Lord's estate? Everyone in the divinity had to listen to the orders of the God Lord's estate, but now, the Yao family had openly opposed the God Lord's estate. They were overestimating themselves. In the divine realm, although there was no written rule that flying beasts were not allowed when traveling through lands with owners, out of respect for the owners, everyone would tacitly agree to leave the city by walking or rent a beast carriage in the city. The act of riding a flying beast could also be regarded as a form of provocation to the owner. In the 8 great divine realms, almost all of the top forces had clearly stated that such behavior was prohibited. Therefore, Xiaobing's behavior was very inappropriate. However, he was in a hurry to get back to the Divine Lord's estate, and he had the Divine Lord's support, so he naturally didn't care about this rule. Now that he was suddenly stopped, and the other party obviously didn't take his identity seriously, he couldn't help but feel a great sense of disappointment. The dissatisfaction in his heart grew, and his face gradually darkened. However, even so, it didn't have much of an effect on the man in black. "I don't know what privileges the token of the Divine Master's estate has," the man in black said with a smile. "I only know that you have violated the city rules of the Yao family." The leader of the men in black didn't give him any face, and this made Xiaobing, who was already in a bad mood, even more furious. He squinted his eyes and glared at the men in black in front of him, and released a trace of pressure. However, the man in black in front of him didn't change his expression. Instead, he looked at Xiaobing provocatively, as if to say, "Your pressure is useless against us." Xiaobing was furious. He had never been a kind person. Previously, when he was with Leng Ruoxue and the others, he had concealed his true nature. Other than trying to figure out Leng Ruoxue's identity, it was also because Leng Ruoxue was a rare beauty. As a man, he would naturally have some tender and protective thoughts towards women, and he was no exception. Chapter 1561. The mute eats yellow lotus, too. However, before he could figure out Lung Ruox's situation, he was summoned back by the Divine Master. Of course, he was not happy about it. In addition, the Yao family's guards were not blind. They knew that he was from the Divine Master's estate, but they still wanted to find trouble with him. This made the anger in his heart multiply. He could show Lung Ruoxu a mercy, but there was no need for him to do so to the Yao family guards. "You're all looking for death," Xiao Bing said coldly with his eyes half closed. "So, are you threatening us? This is the Yao family's territory. You're courting death by threatening the Yao family's people in the Yao family's divine realm." The leader of the men in black warned. "It is, boss. He couldn't leave the Yao family's divine realm alive. We have to let him know the power of our Yao family. The God Lord's estate is nothing." The other man in black agreed with a look of disdain. His words resonated with the other men in black, and they all burst into laughter. "Haha. You have to be punished for breaking the rules of our Yao family's divine realm. We don't care who you are." After the men in black had enough of laughing, they said in unison. Some of them even flashed the weapons in their hands. The bright light pierced Xiao Bing's eyes. With a thought, a long sword appeared in his hand. At the same time, he sent a message to the Divine Master's residence. Then, he waved the long sword in his hand, and a light blue sword light flew toward the leader of the men in black. Xiao Bing made the first move. He was very clear on the principle of capturing the leader first to capture the bandits, so his first target was the annoying leader of the men in black. Moreover, the two of them seemed to be on par in terms of strength, so as long as he killed the leader, the others were not a threat at all. Seeing that Xiao Bing had made his move, the leader of the men in black calmly dodged the sword light. He then gave a look to his subordinates, and instantly, a number of multicolored godly skills were launched at Xiao Bing. Fei Fei, who was under Xiao Bing's feet, quickly cast a defensive barrier around its master. The rainbow-colored godly skills did not even have the chance to reach Xiao Bing before they were absorbed by a pale yellow defensive barrier. When the men in black saw this, they were really envious, jealous, and hateful. This fat bear's defense was just too abnormal, and it was also a level 8 Saint God beast. As a result, it was very difficult for them to break through its defense in a short time, and this made them quite unwilling. "Captain, what do we do now?" One of the men in black whispered to Xiao Bing in a low voice. "We're going to fight to the death. Otherwise, how can we face the head of the family?" The leader of the men in black said angrily. After he finished speaking, he threw a black ball the size of a baby's fist in Xiao Bing's direction. When the men in black saw this, they quickly kept a safe distance from Xiao Bing. Xiao Bing sneered as he looked at the man in black's childish behavior, feeling contempt in his heart. In the immortal realm, Fei Fei's defense might not be the best, but it was definitely in the top 10. So, no matter what they did, he would not be afraid. This was also the trump card that allowed him to fight against so many people at once. Therefore, he really didn't care about that small black ball. Also, according to his guess, that thing should be a bomb. However, after waiting for a while, he didn't see the thing explode. Instead, he smelled an unpleasant smell rising from his surroundings. Wow! It was so smelly. "You guys are so bad. Do you want to suffocate Fei Fei to death?" Fei Fei couldn't take it anymore and screamed, covering its nose with one of its huge claws. Slowly, its body became stiff and numb. It shook its body for some reason, but it forgot that it was in the air, and Xiao Bing, who was on its back, fell straight down without any preparation. "Arg! Master!" Fei Fei, who felt that something was wrong, shouted loudly again. "Damn you, Fei Fei!" Xiao Bing bellowed and quickly reached out an arm to grab Fei Fei's long hair, hanging it in the air. However, this way, he was completely exposed to the men in black and became a live target. Brothers, please entertain the guests of the Divine Lord's estate." The leader of the men in black laughed evilly, and at his command, dozens of divine skills flew toward Xiao Bing. This time, without the protection of Fei Fei's defensive barrier, those beautiful and dazzling divine skills landed directly on Xiao Bing's body. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Bing was covered in wounds and in a sorry state. Seeing the injuries on his body, the anger in Xiao Bing's heart surged. He subconsciously grabbed onto Fei Fei's long hair and held his sword with one hand. He held his breath and was about to counterattack when he suddenly realized that the men in black who had surrounded him had disappeared. Damn it! Where were those people hiding? Xiao Bing's bright black eyes searched around, but he couldn't find a single clue. Xiao Bing, are you all right? Suddenly, a loud voice rang in Xiao Bing's ears. He raised his head and saw the man in red, who was looking at him with a smile. The anger in his heart grew because this man was none other than his rival, Jin Yang. However, at this moment, he also knew why the men in black had suddenly disappeared. What do you think? Xiao Bing said through gritted teeth. Looking at how angry you are, you should be fine. However, you have quite a lot of injuries on your body. Are you being besieged? Jin Yang said, gloating. You don't have eyes. Can't you see for yourself? Xiao Bing said angrily. This damn guy just loved to laugh at him. He couldn't understand why the Divine Master sent this guy here when he knew that they didn't get along. Wasn't he just causing trouble for him? Especially when Jin Yang saw him in such a sorry state. TSK. How pitiful. It's a good thing I came in time, otherwise I would have to collect your corpse. Jin Yang said with a smile, but he felt a little regretful in his heart. If only he had come a little later. Damn it. Quickly pull me up. Xiao Bing flew into a rage out of humiliation. He was still hanging in the air. That damned guy actually pretended not to see it and was even talking nonsense with him. Arg. What's wrong with you? You're not riding a flying beast, but a flying man. Jin Yang seemed to have just noticed Xiao Bing's state, and he said with a surprised look. Master, it hurts. At this time, Fei Fei, whose long hair was being pulled, finally couldn't bear the pain and whispered. You shut up. Xiao Bing roared. Then, he looked at Jin Yang with an unfriendly expression and said, hurry up and help. All right. Jin Yang knew when to stop. He sat on his flying beast and came to Xiao Bing's side. He reached out his hand and gently lifted Xiao Bing, then threw him onto Fei Fei's back. Xiao Bing took a healing elixir, looked at Jin Yang and said, why are you alone? He had asked the Divine Master for help, saying that he had been besieged. The Divine Master wouldn't have only sent Jin Yang, right? Chapter 1562. The Mute Eats Yellow Lotus. 3. I'm flying fast, the others are behind me, they should be here soon. Jin Yang said seriously. Although he hated Xiao Bing, he was still a member of the Divine Master's estate. As the saying goes, you have to look at the owner before you hit a dog. Since the other party dared to mess with the Divine Master's estate, it was no longer Xiao Bing's personal matter. Therefore, the Divine Master's estate had to step in and settle this matter. God Lord, do you have any instructions? Xiao Bing nodded and asked. The Divine Master has given me full authority to deal with this matter. Don't worry. I will seek justice for you. Jin Yang promised with a smile. I want to deal with this myself. Xiao Bing said bluntly. He didn't believe that Jin Yang would seek justice for him. It was already good enough that Jin Yang didn't hit him when he was down. Why would he care about his life or death? Xiao Bing, although we've never been on good terms, this matter is no longer your personal matter. The Yao family has disgraced the Divine Lord's estate, so we naturally won't let them off easily. Jin Yang reminded him. He knew that Xiao Bing didn't trust him, so he wasn't willing to stand up for him. However, this was the Divine Master's order. He did not dare to disobey. Don't worry. You'll definitely be satisfied. Jin Yang added. Then I'll believe you this once. Although he didn't really trust Jin Yang, he believed that Jin Yang would never bring shame to the Divine Lord's residence. Oh right. Didn't you go to the Endless Sea? Why would he appear in the Yao family's god domain? Jin Yang asked with a face full of question marks. I chased a dolphin from the eye of the endless ocean to the cold pond near the Ning family's divine realm, and then I came here. Xiao Bing explained simply, but he hid the fact that he had met Leng Ruoxue. Have you managed to contract that dolphin? Jin Yang asked curiously. No, I didn't. We let it run away. Xiaobing was annoyed. He ran away? How was that possible? The beasts in the sea were much weaker on land, so how could they escape? Could it be that the dolphin has the strength of a reverent god? Jinyang guessed. No, I didn't. It's just a god-king level dolphin. Xiaobing said gloomily. He had wanted to catch a beastie from the sea for a long time, and this was his best chance. Who knew that he would not be able to catch one? But you didn't catch him? Jin Yang's face was full of disbelief, and there was a faint trace of contempt in his eyes. Do you think the sea beasts are easy to catch? Xiaobing said in a bad mood. After that, he turned around and ignored Jin Yang. Not long after, the main force sent by the God Lord's manor finally arrived. There were about 20 people sent by the God Lord's estate, including Jin Yang. Most of them were divine emperors, and the weakest among them was a divine king. It was clear that the God Lord's estate's strength could not be underestimated. These people were led by Jin Yang. Although Jin Yang also had the strength of a divine emperor, the strength of divine emperors of the same level was not exactly the same. However, Jin Yang was definitely a top expert among the divine emperors and was deeply trusted by the divine master. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Jin Yang and the others flew directly to the main city of the Yao family. At this time, it was late at night in the main city of the Yao family. Most people were immersed in their dreams. After arriving at the destination, Jin Yang and the others did not delay and went straight to the main house of the Yao family. The Yao family's main residence was located in the center of the Yao family's main city, covering an area of hundreds of thousands of hectares. From the outside, one could only see tall and majestic buildings standing in the main residence, giving off a majestic feeling. Upon entering the main residence, one would realize that the Yao family was built with a cluster of palaces. The pavilions and pagodas reflected each other, and a small bridge ran through them. In addition, many precious flowers and plants were planted in the courtyard, giving one a sense of pleasure. However, the angry Xiaobing and the others were not in the mood to appreciate the Yao family's luxury. Besides, in their eyes, the Yao family's mansion was not even comparable to the Divine Lord's mansion. After reporting his identity, he was respectfully invited into the living room of the main residence. Xiaobing and the others sat on the chairs and waited for a moment before a middle-aged man came in with a hurried expression. Mr. Jin Yang, Mr. Xiaobing and everyone else, hello. Sorry for not welcoming you. The middle-aged man wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said in fear. Although he looked like that on the surface, he could not help but curse in his heart. Nothing good could come from coming to the Yao family in the middle of the night. Not to mention that her sweet dreams were disturbed, she still had to treat these people like her ancestors. She was really aggrieved. However, these people were from the Divine Master's estate. Although the Yao family was ranked second among the 8 great divine regions, they still had to act according to the God Lord Manor's wishes. You're the head of the Yao family? Xiaobing said coldly as he lifted his eyelids. I'm the acting head of the Yao family, Yao Hua. Yao Hua introduced himself. Acting clan head? We're here to see the head of the Yao family, but you're using a substitute head to fool us. Do you think we're easy to bully? Xiaobing squinted his eyes and said unhappily. You've misunderstood, Sir Xiaobing. The master is not in the main residence. Yao Hua was so scared that he quickly said. In fact, he was lying through his teeth, because the Yao family's ancestor was in the family's forbidden area. However, the old ancestor did not want to see the people of the Divine Lord's estate, so he had asked him to deal with it. However, looking at the attitude of these people, he was afraid that he could not deal with them. Not in the main residence? Where did the Yao family head go? Xiaobing asked coldly, not believing Yao Hua's words at all. I went out to meet some friends. Yao Hua said after some thought. Friends? I thought you'd tell me that your ancestor was in seclusion. Xiaobing said with a half-smile. I really went out to meet some friends. Yao Hua said nervously. In fact, he really wanted to say that he was going into seclusion, but he didn't know why these people were here. If they had something important to do, they couldn't just come out immediately after saying that they were going into seclusion. That would be too fake. Since the head of the Yao family has gone to meet his friends, he'll have to trouble you to inform him to return on behalf of the head. We have something important to do. Xiao Bing ordered coldly. May I know what's the matter? Yao Hua asked shamelessly. I was attacked in your Yao family's divine domain. Xiao Bing said indifferently. Arg! Who's so bold? Yao Hua was shocked, and he was crying out in his heart. No wonder he came to the Yao family. Could it be that he wanted the Yao family to help him find the murderer? However, it was best not to get involved in this kind of thing because if it was not handled well, he would get into trouble, he thought. However, the other party was a member of the Divine Lord's estate, so he would not be so foolish as to reject him in front of him. However, if the other party was really as he had guessed, he would definitely not put in all his effort to find the murderer for the other party. In an instant, his thoughts turned over and over again, but his face remained calm and composed. They are the guards of your Yao clan. Jin Yang said with a smile. Chapter 1563, A Mute Eats Yellow Lotus 4. What? This is impossible. Yao Hua quickly denied it. The guards of the Yao family were well trained. How could they find trouble with the people of the Divine Master's estate? Wouldn't that bring trouble to the Yao family? He was confident that the Yao family would never do that. Is it impossible? Take a look at this. Jin Yang smiled faintly and flashed a token the size of a palm. The token had the word Yao on the front and the totem of the Yao family on the back. Yao Hua saw it and knew it was the token of the Yao family's guard. After seeing the token, Yao Hua was both shocked and angry. He was shocked that the other party had evidence of the Yao family, and angry that it was clearly someone who had framed him, because he didn't believe that his own guard would have such courage. However, at this moment, he had unspeakable bitterness. Mr. Jin Yang, is there a misunderstanding? Yao Hua probed. Misunderstanding? Are you trying to say that this isn't your Yao clan's token? Jin Yang asked with a sneer. No, it wasn't it. This is the token of our Yao family. However, our Yao family will never dare to go against the Divine Lord's manner, and they will never attack Sir Xiao Bing. Yao Hua said with certainty. Do you think he'll frame you? He had already prepared for the Yao family to deny it before he came. However, even if they did not admit to it, he would not let it go. To put it bluntly, he had pestered the Yao family, and the Yao family had to give him an explanation. Otherwise, where would he put his face? In fact, to him, it really didn't matter whether the Yao family admitted to it or not. In any case, they had evidence of the Yao family in their hands. If the Yao family denied it, then they would have to find a way to find the black-clothed men who had attacked him. If they couldn't find them, then the Yao family would naturally have to bear the consequences themselves. Thus, no matter what the result was, he would be the final winner. That's not what I meant, Sir Xiao Bing, you've misunderstood. Yao Hua's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He knew that Xiao Bing wasn't someone to be trifled with, but he didn't expect him to be even more difficult than he had imagined. What I mean is, it's possible that the people who attacked Mr. Xiao Bing are trying to frame us. Yao Hua explained as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Haha. Xiao Bing laughed after hearing Yao Hua's words, then said with slight disdain, Who would dare to frame the Yao family in their divine realm? If that's the case, your Yao clan's defense is too trashy. Ah. Xiao Bing's words left Yao Hua speechless. Mr. Xiao Bing, I know that you won't believe me even if I insist that this has nothing to do with the Yao family. Please give me a few days, and I will find out the truth and give you an explanation. Yao Hua was silent for a long time before he spoke in a depressed manner. That's good. Then I'll give you 3 days. After 3 days, if you can't give me a satisfactory explanation, don't blame me for not showing mercy. Xiao Bing said coldly with a straight face. Sir Xiao Bing, 3 days is not enough. Yao Hua said with a bitter face. Yao Hua, acting patriarch, 3 days isn't a short time. We still have important matters to attend to when we return to the Divine Lord's estate, so we don't have much time to waste on this. Jin Yang said with a faint smile. As soon as he said this, Yao Hua knew that the 3 days were set in stone and could not be changed. All right then, I'll try my best. Yao Hua replied with a bitter face. Yao Hua, acting patriarch, I suggest you inform the Yao family patriarch to return quickly. I'm afraid you can't make the decision on this matter. Xiaobing said very kindly. I'll inform the ancestor. Yao Hua felt extremely aggrieved. Of course, he would tell the old master about this, but he was worried that Xiaobing and the others had given him too little time. If the other party was trying to frame him, 3 days would not be enough. Not only that, but he also had to entertain these ancestors with good food and drink for the next few days. Just the thought of it made him feel extremely depressed. After arranging accommodation for Xiaobing and the others, he immediately went to the forbidden area to see the old ancestor. At Xiaobing's residence. In the room, Jin Yang looked at Xiaobing, who was sitting opposite him, with a curious look on his face. He said with a faint smile, Do you believe that the Yao clan will investigate this matter and hand over the person who attacked you in 3 days? I don't believe it. This matter is of great importance, and the Yao family won't admit it easily. However, it doesn't matter to me whether they admit it or not. Xiaobing said nonchalantly. When the Divine Master came, he told me that it's best not to fall out with the Yao family. The balance of the divine world is very important. Jin Yang said lightly. Did I get attacked for nothing? Xiaobing was displeased. Of course I want to. After all, you're a member of the Divine Master's estate. You have to look at the Master before you hit the dog. How could the Divine Master let you suffer? However, he won't put the Yao family to death. Jin Yang explained. Oh really? I thought the Divine Master would use this matter to take down the Yao family in one fell swoop. Xiaobing laughed. Don't talk nonsense. The Divine Realm is originally governed by the Divine Lord. Jin Yang reproached. His eyes flickered nervously, for fear that the walls had ears. I thought you'd be happy to hear me say that. Xiaobing smiled and said calmly. I'm just afraid that if you die, no one will go against me. Then he'll be so bored. Jin Yang said matter-of-factly. The Divine Master was not a broad-minded person. If he heard Xiaobing's words, he would definitely be punished. Moreover, such words could not be spread, or it would cause trouble for the Divine Master's estate. Don't worry. To live well. Xiaobing looked out of the window, thinking about something. Then, the two of them chatted for a while more before they went to rest. 3 days passed by in a flash. Xiaobing and Jin Yang had been sitting in the living room since early morning, waiting for Yao Hua's reply. When Yao Hua heard the news, he jogged all the way to the living room. When he saw the two people sitting on the chairs, he felt depressed. Patriarch Yao, you can give me an explanation for this matter. Xiaobing's eyes were cold as he glared at Yao Hua. Mr. Xiaobing, Mr. Jin Yang, I've already sent people to investigate this matter, but there's no news so far. The guards you told me about have also been found, so I can't give you any answers now. Yao Hua said as he secretly wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Of course, his ancestor told him to say this because he didn't believe that the guards of the Yao family would cause trouble for the people of the Divine Lord's estate. Therefore, after hearing his description, he immediately concluded that someone was framing the Yao family. However, they didn't know who it was. Your Yao family is trying to cheat. Or do you think I'm framing you? Xiaobing suppressed his anger and asked. He had thought that the Yao family would try their best to deny the matter, but he didn't expect that the Yao family would not admit it at all. 3 days had passed, and they only told him that they had not found the person. Were they trying to fool him? No way. Chapter 1564. The Mute Eats the Yellow Lotus, 5. Upon hearing Yao Hua's words, Jin Yang, who had intended to make a big deal smaller, was a little angry. The Yao family was clearly not putting the Divine Master's estate in their eyes. Initially, he thought that the Yao family would find a scapegoat to settle the matter, and then compensate Xiaobing with some money and things, and the matter would be over. However, he did not expect that the Yao family did not even plan to send out a scapegoat. Although he knew that Xiaobing's attack was suspicious, since there was evidence pointing to the Yao family, he naturally did not want to interfere. However, the Yao family was obviously not easy to manipulate. Sir Xiaobing, please don't misunderstand us. We are also investigating this matter. If this was really done by the Yao family, we will not let this matter rest. If not, we will definitely find out who dared to frame our Yao family and avenge Sir Xiaobing and our Yao family. Yao Hua said with a calm smile on his handsome face. He was now full of confidence, and this was all thanks to his conversation with the ancestor. So you still don't believe me? Xiaobing understood Yao Hua's meaning. In the end, he just didn't believe that his own family would attack him. We have to have enough evidence to convict our clansmen. Otherwise, our clansmen will not be convinced. Yao Hua said helplessly. You mean that just the token of your Yao family isn't enough? Xiaobing said with a half-smile. It would be even better if we have other evidence. To be honest, the place where Mr. Xiaobing was attacked is in Linfun, and we have already checked the guards there. They did not go out that night, and there are witnesses. Also, they did not lose their tokens. Yao Hua carefully explained. Are you sure? Xiaobing gave Yao Hua a sidelong glance. Yao family head, the people who attacked Sir Xiaobing might not be the guards of Linfun, but that doesn't mean they aren't from the Yao family. Jin Yang reminded her with a smile. You're saying? Hearing Jin Yang's words, Yao Hua was a little frightened. He understood the other party's words. They wanted him to expand the scope of the search. However, he had to ask his ancestor for instructions. Otherwise, if something really happened, he couldn't make the decision. We have the footage of the people who attacked Mr. Xiaobing. Do you need it? Jin Yang said with a smile. He didn't intend to take out this thing, but since the Yao family didn't know what was good for them, it was only natural to take it out and make them convinced. After hearing Jin Yang's words, Yao Hua had a bad feeling in her heart. She couldn't help but curse in her heart. If you had the video, why didn't you take it out earlier? Aren't you playing us? However, Jin Yang's words also made him a little afraid. What if the people in the video were really the Yao family? What would he do then? Moreover, since they had evidence, why didn't they show it earlier? This also made him puzzled. Looking at Yao Hua's dark expression, Xiaobing sneered in his heart. It was a good thing he had been careful back then, or else he would have been forced to suffer in silence. Originally, he had discussed with Jin Yang that if the Yao family's explanation satisfied them, they would not take out such evidence. They would keep it for more important use in the future. However, he did not expect that the Yao family would not take the bait. In that case, he could not be blamed. Can I take a look first? After a long silence, Yao Hua finally spoke. Of course you can. Xiaobing took out a memory crystal with a smile and handed it over. Yao Hua held the memory crystal in his hand and looked at its contents. He was shocked because the images in the crystal were indeed from the Yao family. Moreover, they were not ordinary guards of the Yao family. Suddenly, his hand trembled and the memory crystal in his hand fell to the ground with a bang. With a sound, it shattered into pieces. It doesn't matter. I've duplicated a lot of them, so feel free to smash them, Patriarch Yao. Xiaobing laughed nonchalantly. Do you want to destroy the evidence? In your dreams. Your Excellency Xiaobing. I didn't do it on purpose. Yao Hua said pitifully with a bitter face. He knew that the other party would not believe him even if he said it, but he had to say it. In fact, he did not do it on purpose. He was just too nervous, so he accidentally dropped the memory crystal on the ground. The memory crystal wasn't very hard, and the Yao family's floor was made of abnormally hard crystal. When the two hit each other, it was like an egg hitting a rock. Naturally, the one that broke was the one that was harder. It doesn't matter whether Patriarch Yao has the intention or not. You should discuss with your patriarch and elders how you're going to give me an explanation. Xiaobing was in a good mood. From Yao Hua's expression, he could tell that Yao Hua definitely knew the people in the memory crystal. Let's see how he's going to quibble now. Mr. Xiaobing, Mr. Jin Yang, please give me some time. Yao Hua requested as cold sweat appeared on his forehead. No problem, I'll give you one more day. My patience is limited. Xiaobing said generously and threw a memory crystal to Yao Hua. Yao Hua held the memory crystal in his hand and left the living room with heavy steps. Xiaobing and Jin Yang, who were still sitting in their chairs, looked at each other and smiled. Both of them had a tacit understanding. A day later, the Yao family finally came to a conclusion. They were willing to pay Xiaobing a huge sum of compensation, but at the same time, they also asked Xiaobing to let go of the guards who had besieged him. Xiaobing was in a good mood, so he agreed without hesitation. After all, he was very satisfied with the compensation from the Yao family. As for those who had besieged him, he had no use for them. If he really killed them, he would have a huge grudge with the Yao family. The Yao family might not dare to take revenge on the surface, but they could do something in secret, and it was hard to guard against. Xiaobing was not stupid, so he naturally did not want to make such a deep enemy. Therefore, he did the Yao family a favor, which was something the Divine Master was happy to see. After paying a large sum of compensation and apologizing to Xiaobing, even though they still did not believe that the guards of the Yao family would do such a thing, they could only swallow their pride as the evidence was conclusive. Furthermore, they did not dare to blame the guards who were stored in the memory crystal too much, because they were the people of their ancestor. When Leng Ruoxue and the rest heard the news, they had already returned to the Ning family's main residence. In a courtyard in the forbidden area of the back mountain, a burst of proud and wild laughter rang out. The sound resounded through the clouds and soared into the sky. Ha! Ha! I'm so happy! The master of the Ning family laughed and fell to the ground without any care for his image. When Leng Ruoxue saw this, she could not help but feel a few black lines sliding down her forehead. She thought to herself, does Godfather have to smile so shamelessly? The Yao family only lost some money, and there were no casualties. It didn't affect the Yao family's strength at all. Wasn't it too early for Godfather to be proud? Godfather, are you done laughing? The Yao family is just losing money to avoid disaster. Do you need to be so happy? Leng Ruoxue said speechlessly and came to an important conclusion. Godfather was easily satisfied. Chapter 1565. The Mute Eats Yellow Lotus. 6. Shui. You don't understand, the Divine Master won't easily touch a family like ours, so I thought this would be the result before I set up the trap. But that Xiaobing is really ruthless. He actually got so much money from the Yao family. Should I ask him for some dividends? The master of the Ning family hesitated, and then he really started to think about it seriously. Old thing, don't even think about the money, or else you'll be exposed. In this way, you've offended both the Godlord's estate and the Yao family. First Elder quickly poured cold water on Master Ning. The Godlord's estate won't find trouble with me for now. As for the Yao family, they're already rivals with our Ning family, so it's fine to offend them a little more. The master of the Ning family said indifferently, Godfather, it wasn't easy for us to get rid of Xiaobing. Do you still want to walk into the trap? Leng Ruoxue reminded him helplessly. She couldn't let her godfather have such thoughts. She couldn't wait to hide from Xiaobing, so how could she let her godfather come forward by himself? Xiaobing is a little troublesome. Master Ning cupped his chin with one hand and said gloomily. Although Xiaobing was a divine emperor, he was definitely one of the most difficult people to deal with in the Divine Lord manner. Otherwise, he would not have followed them to the Yao family's divine domain. So, let's stay away from him. Leng Ruoxue hurriedly nodded. All right then, let's let him off for now. Although the master of the Ning family was a little reluctant, he did not have a good way to deal with Xiaobing, so he could only let him have it first. Hearing her godfather's words, Leng Ruoxue's heart was at ease. At this time, the Ning family's competition had already entered the final stage. There were only 20 people left in the final stage of the competition, and these 20 people were also the elites of this competition. If there were no accidents, they would all be heavily trained by the family. Ning Shan and Ning Hai were also included in these 20 people. When Leng Ruoxue heard the news, she had planned to visit the two brothers. However, just as she was about to leave, she met Ning Yen, who had come to see her. Ning Yen was staring at Leng Ruoxue with bitter expression, not saying a word. Leng Ruoxue's hair stood on end. Why was she the same as the grapes and the lotus seeds? The two maidservants looked at her like this before, but they didn't say anything, which made her quite scared. Sister Yen, you're so fast. Lung Ruoxu's beautiful face was full of smiles. Is it fast? Wretched girl, do you know that I was worried to death when you were away for so many days? Ning Yenha roared like a lion. She put her hands on her waist and glared at Lung Ruoxue. Seeing Ning Yen like this, Lung Ruoxue thought to herself, no wonder everyone says Ning Yen is a tigress. I really do look like one. Sister Yen, calm down. Aren't I back now? Besides, I have Godfather and Great Elder by my side, so what do you have to worry about? Lung Ruoxue consoled. You guys took so long to come back. Did you encounter something fun? You guys must take in all the food for yourself. This is too much. Ning Yen said unhappily, as if saying, how are you going to compensate me? Ning Yan's words made Lung Ruoxue speechless. After all this, it turned out that Ning Yen was unhappy because she wasn't with her. She had thought that Ning Yen was really worried about her. Of course, he was worried, but it was more for fun. Sister Yen, didn't you say that Xiao Bing was sinister and vicious? Therefore, the task of coming back to report is very important, and it must be you. Lung Ruoxue thought for a while and coaxed. So what? I've already gone home, but father won't take me with him. Ning Yen complained. This is Godfather's problem. I wasn't there at the time. Lung Ruoxue pushed all the blame away. She didn't think that Ning Yen would dare to get even with her godfather. Why should I bring you? We're not going there to play. Master Ning opened his mouth, but his eyes drifted to Lung Ruoxue, his eyes filled with endless grievances. However, his words successfully changed the topic. Little sister Ruoxue, although you've been away these few days, I've been watching Ning Shan and Ning Hai for you. With me around, no one would dare to do anything to them. Ning Yen said with a smug look. Thank you, Sister Yen. Lung Ruoxue smiled from the bottom of her heart. Actually, she was really afraid that in the few days that she wasn't around, Big Brother Ning and Shan had been violated. With Ning Yen around, he believed that no one would dare to use improper means. There's no need to thank me, we're not friends. As long as you think of me when you have something fun in the future, it's fine. Ning Yen warned him seriously. All right. Lung Ruoxue nodded. This was as easy as lifting a finger to her. As for whether Ning Yen had that much time, it was not within her scope of concern. Chapter 1566, Persuasion, 1. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue had agreed, Ning Yen was in a good mood. After chatting for a while, she even took the initiative to say that she wanted to visit Brother Ning Hai with Lung Ruoxue. Then, the two of them went to find Ning Hai. When they arrived at the door of Ning Hai's house, Lung Ruoxue and Ning Yen suddenly heard shouts coming from inside. They looked at each other and did not say anything. Instead, they listened carefully. Although they heard that it wasn't a good idea, they were just concerned about Brother Ning Hai. The two of them tacitly found an excuse for themselves. At this time, in the courtyard of Ning Hai's house, Ning Hai was arguing with a group of people. There were about a dozen people in that group, and all of them had a disdainful smile on their faces. Their eyes were perverted, and they were looking at Ning Hai. Get lost. All of you get lost. Ning Hai roared in anger. Did these people really think he was easy to bully? If not for the Ning family, he would have kicked them out long ago. Ning Hai, it's your fortune that our head butler has taken a liking to you. If you know what's good for you, quickly agree to this matter. This will be a double blessing. Otherwise, don't even think about having a good life in the Ning family in the future. The leader of the group, a man in his 30s, reminded with a sneer. It is. You've offended our head butler. Do you still want to stand out in the Ning family in the future? The other person also roared like a fox exploiting a tiger's might. When Ning Hai heard the words of these two people, he suppressed the anger in his heart and growled, I told you to get lost, so what are you still doing here? Ning Hai, don't you regret offending the head butler? You won't have a good time. The leader of the group threatened. So what if I did? At worst, well, leave the Ning family's divine realm. Ning Shan shouted indignantly. His delicate face was flushed red. He had never thought that he would encounter such a thing. He had long been furious. Sha no. Sha no. A few exclamations sounded one after another. Ning Hai looked at Ning Shan with a face of disapproval. This younger brother of his was innocent and did not know the dangers of the human world. As members of the Ning family, unless they went out to train, once their entire family left the Ning family's divine realm, it would be equivalent to betrayal. This was a great humiliation to any family. Even if they were not hunted down by the family, they would be spurned by the people of the divine world. At that time, they would be like rats crossing the street, hated by everyone. This was definitely not what Ning Hai wanted to see. Therefore, he would rather be the only one who offended the head butler than to see his brother and parents live such a life. However, he had a good plan, but he didn't know that the reality was cruel. If he was really expelled from the family because he offended the head butler, would his parents and brothers still have a good life? The answer was definitely no. Are you guys trying to betray your clan? When the leader heard Ning Shan's words, he laughed happily. He had finally caught them. He didn't believe that with this big hat, this family would not submit. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. We didn't say anything like that, so don't even think about framing us. Ning Hai's heart sank and he quickly said, he had been out for many years, so he more or less had the ability to read people's expressions. Therefore, he understood the meaning of the other party's words. However, he couldn't let the other party carry out his words, otherwise, they would not be able to clear their name even if they jumped into the Yellow River. Ning Shan just said that he wanted to leave the Ning family's divine realm. I didn't hear wrongly, right? The leader of the group asked his subordinate. You didn't hear wrong, he did say that, we can all be witnesses. The person beside him immediately tried to please him. What else do you have to say now? The leader of the group was very pleased with himself. As long as he thought of the benefits that the head butler would promise him after he succeeded, he would be so happy that he could fly. I only said to leave, I didn't say I would betray the clan. Ning Shan said calmly. Although he looked very calm on the outside, he was extremely nervous in his heart. He also knew that he had said the wrong thing in a moment of desperation. However, he was very smart and knew that the other party wanted to use this sentence as a handle. Naturally, he would not give the other party a chance. Little brat. Don't quibble, I will report this matter to the head butler, and there will be a fair judgment. The person in the lead did not give Ning Shan a chance to explain and said, Ning Shan was so angry that he could not speak. Let's go. The leader of the group came and went excitedly, thinking that victory was already in his hands. When they reached the door, they happened to bump into Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yen who were about to enter. What a stunning beauty! The leader of the group looked at Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yen with a perverted look, his heart filled with amazement. You guys are from this house too? After a long time, the leader asked loudly. Leng Ruoxue nodded but did not say much. I didn't expect this family to have a hidden beauty. The leader mumbled to himself. After that, he left with his subordinates. However, he turned back every 3 steps as he left, looking reluctant to leave. Sister Yen, are they also part of the Ning family? Leng Ruoxue chuckled as she asked. How is that possible? If there's such a person in the Ning family, he'll be the first to clean up the house. Ning Yen said angrily. Leng Ruoxue smiled but did not say anything more. She pulled Ning Yen into the courtyard. At this moment, Ning Shan was still in the courtyard with an angry expression, while Ning Hai seemed a little depressed. As for their parents, they were also out of their wits and their faces were pale with fear. No one noticed the arrival of Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yen. Big brother Ning. Leng Ruoxue called out softly when she saw them in this state. Ruoxue, you're back. Young miss, you're here too. Ning Hai saw Leng Ruoxue and Ning Yen and quickly greeted them. Yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded. She knew that Ning Yen had made up an excuse for her disappearance. Ning Hai, why do you call her Ruoxue and call me young miss? Ning Yen said unhappily when she heard how Ning Hai addressed her. Ning Hai was stunned and didn't know what to say. Could he say that Ning Yen was a rich young lady? Even though Ruoxue was the elder ancestor's goddaughter, he treated her like a little sister. He knew that he couldn't say that. If he did, Ning Yen would definitely not let him off. Besides, Ning Yen had been taking care of them in secret these days, so he couldn't say it. Ha! Sister Yen is jealous. Lung Ruoxue laughed and teased Ning Yen. Wretched girl, you dare to laugh at me. Ning Yen glared at Lung Ruoxue with dissatisfaction. However, she suddenly changed the topic and looked at Ning Hai. Who were those people just now? The Ning family's trash that uses their power to bully others. Before Ning Hai could answer, Ning Shan spoke first. Shantu. Shut up. Ning Hai shouted and secretly gave Ning Shan a look, telling him not to talk nonsense. After all, Ning Yen was the eldest miss of the Ning family. Chapter 1567, Persuasion 2, Ning Hai. You're not allowed to interrupt. Ning Yen glared at Ning Hai and said. Then, she smiled and guided Ning Shan. Ning Shan. Tell me, what's going on? Lung Ruoxue looked at Ning Yan's expression, which was like a big bad wolf seducing Little Red Riding Hood, and laughed in her heart. However, she would not stop Ning Yen, because she also wanted to know what had happened just now. Seeing Ning Hai's cautious look, he would not tell them on his own initiative. Although Ning Shan wanted to say it out loud, he had just received his brother's warning. For a moment, he didn't know whether he should say it or not. He knew Ning Yan's identity, but he wasn't sure if Ning Yen would stand on his side. After all, their family was just a side branch of the Ning family. Ning Shan, if you want to be a man, then tell me quickly. Seeing that Ning Shan did not say anything for a long time, Ning Yen was furious. However, she did not expect that the other party did not dare to say anything because he did not trust her. Shut up. Tell Big Sister what happened just now, Big Sister will help you. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue took the opportunity to coax her. Before this, she and Ning Yen had only heard the second half of the conversation, so they were not clear about the cause of the incident. Sister Ruoxue. When Ning Shan heard Lung Ruoxue's words, tears welled up in his eyes. Then, he explained the situation in detail. It turned out that the Ning family's head butler had taken a fancy to the two brothers and wanted them to marry his sister and daughter respectively. He had even sent someone to propose marriage, but the two of them were unwilling, so the other party had threatened them, and thus, they had parted on bad terms. After Lung Ruoxue heard this, she was dumbfounded. She never thought that the cause of this matter was actually a forced marriage. However, that head butler's guts were really not small. Did he really think that his sister and daughter were golden dolls? She didn't want to marry him, so he wanted to make things difficult for her? This Ning family wasn't something he could cover the sky with one hand, so how could he dare? This is preposterous. After hearing Ning Shan's words, Ning Yan's beautiful face turned red with anger, and her beautiful eyes glared at Ning Hai with dissatisfaction. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Just now, she had heard from Ning Shan that this was not the first time the head butler had sent someone over, but she had no idea at all. This made her exceptionally angry because in her heart, she had already determined that Ning Hai and his brother were under her protection. Under her watch, someone actually dared to have ideas about them. This made her feel that she had failed her duty, and she became more and more angry from embarrassment. This is just a small matter. I don't dare to trouble the young miss. Ning Hai said with his head lowered. In fact, he felt that he was not familiar with Ning Yen and didn't want to owe her a favor. At the same time, he thought that he could settle this matter himself. He didn't expect that the head butler of the Ning family would become more and more aggressive. However, he believed that as long as he won this competition, the head butler would think twice before touching their entire family. You really are a blockhead? Ning Yen was furious and started searching the yard like a headless fly. She wanted to find a stick to teach the ignorant Ning Hai a lesson, but she couldn't find anything useful after searching for a long time, which made her even angrier. Sister Yen, what are you looking for? Lung Ruoxue asked in confusion. Find a stick. I'm going to beat him up. Ning Yen said in a bad mood. Sister Yen, there's no stick here, so don't look for it. Lung Ruoxue was speechless. She really didn't know what Ning Yen was angry about. It was just that Ning Hai didn't tell her about this. In fact, with her understanding of Ning Hai, she knew that Ning Hai wanted to settle it himself. In addition, he didn't want others to say that he relied on nepotism. To put it bluntly, Brother Ning's self-esteem was too strong, and at the same time, he was too upright. He didn't want to take the crooked way. I want to beat him up. I took such good care of him, but he actually treated me as an outsider. Ning Yen roared. Hearing Ning Yan's words, Lung Ruoxu's forehead was filled with black lines. She thought to herself, aren't you an outsider? Moreover, she was an outsider with a high status in the Ning family. However, Ning Yen was still in a fit of anger and her words would only add fuel to the fire. Young miss, I didn't mean it that way. Ning Hai explained guiltily. In fact, he felt that the difference between their statuses was too big, so he had never been able to treat Ning Yen the way he treated Ruoxu. Then what do you mean? Ning Yen asked, her beautiful eyes staring at Ning Hai. I just feel that I can solve this matter myself. Ning Hai said honestly. How are you going to solve this? Ning Yen raised an eyebrow. As long as I can win the family competition, I will naturally be valued by the family. At that time, even if the head butler wants to force me, he will have no chance. Ning Hai said with confidence. Don't you know that the king of hell is easy to see, but the little devil is difficult to deal with? Even if you won the family competition and received the family's attention, your foundation in the family is shallow. Do you think you can win against the head butler who has deep roots in the family? Although the head butler is only a servant, he has some authority in front of many elders and acting family head. Otherwise, why do you think he dares to be so arrogant? Ning Yen told Ning Hai the cruel truth. Although she didn't care much about the family affairs, she was very clear about the twists and turns in the family. Lung Ruoxu knew that Ning Yan's words made sense. Since the head butler had his eyes on Brother Ning, he naturally wouldn't let Brother Ning escape so easily. Furthermore, the head butler of the Ning family had deep connections in the Ning family. If he randomly found a mistake and framed Brother Ning might not be able to take it. At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxu smiled and said, Big Brother Ning, it's indeed not easy for you to go head-to-head with that head butler now. Although he's a servant, I heard that many direct descendants of the Ning family have to flatter him in order to get a good job. That's right. He was personally promoted by the second elder. That old man, the second elder, has always been nepotism. You can't win against the head butler. Ning Yen spoke the truth. Although it was cruel, it was the truth. Then what should we do? Ning Shan and his parents were a little flustered. Don't be afraid. You are under my protection. I think that the head butler would not dare to not give me face. Ning Yen said confidently. Young miss, you have to help my and Shan. Ning Hai's mother quickly knelt down and said to Ning Yen. What are you doing? Get up quickly. Ruoxu is my sister, and Ning Hai is like her big brother. I won't sit by and do nothing about your family's matters. Ning Yen promised. With Ning Yan's guarantee, Ning Hai's mother was a little relieved. Then, she ran to the kitchen and made a table of delicious food to thank Ning Yen. Looking at Ning Yan's satisfied expression, Lung Ruoxu laughed in her heart. This Ning Yen was also a temperamental person. After getting to know her, she realized that she was not bothered by trifles. In the past, when she was in the Divine Mainland, she had heard more about Ning Yan's violent reputation. However, after getting to know her, she realized that Ning Yen was a straightforward person. She would say whatever she wanted and would not beat around the bush. This was the main reason why she was willing to let Ning Yen pester her. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.